call them, how they call them, why they call them, and then what it means, what else it can mean, what it could mean. And often what is lost in that conversation is the evolution of that language with the time, because you will find with time other things are added to that language and other things are forgotten. So, and perhaps the language that has been studied more than any other, the English language, explains it better. And that's why you even have words that are demarcated as Old English.
Yeah.
Like ye, which is supposed to mean you.
How old art thou?
See, you understand Old English. How old are you?
Let's begin the show. Today we have interesting conversations. Of course, the holiday is over and we must discuss that. Are you ready to take your kids back to school on Monday? Has the BOM been trained sufficiently?
More importantly,
Do
they have a copy of
the tool?
The tool? Has it been communicated officially to schools?
They are too lulu. All right. We will be having a conversation with the Amani National Congress and presidential hopeful Musalia Mudavadi. He'll be in the studio at 7 o'clock. Then we will also have a conversation with the Senator for Kericho County, Aaron Cheriot, at 8 o'clock to talk about what we are seeing in the Ruto camp and what they're doing. What are the next options for them now that their head is being kicked out of the headship of the party. So we'll discuss that, but let's begin where we always begin. COVID-19 and what's happening around the country. Okay.
137 new cases in the country yesterday, 3 deaths, and a lot of murmurings and whisperings in terms of what people are finding around counties and what could point to a second wave. We still have the Ministry of Health asking people to be, extremely cautious about measures that have been put in place for the protection of people across the country, right? And still asking people to be very cautious because there's still a high possibility that corona could spread once again.
Like it had stopped.
It has never stopped.
Actually, why could? Will?
It will.
It is spreading.
It is spreading, okay? Movement restricted at remand prison as virus cases soar. This is just one of the stories, right? The Nairobi remand prison has been put on lockdown for 30 days as the government monitors the spread of the coronavirus in this closed cluster.
Pun is definitely intended there, isn't
it?
The remand is on lockdown.
Right.
Okay.
The lockdown had been informed by a spike in the number of COVID-19 cases, which had raised the positivity rate in the country to more than 10%, and this was as of yesterday. The government announced 137 new cases of coronavirus from 1,258 samples tested, translating to a positivity rate of 10.8%. Health Chief Administrative Secretary Rashid Aman reported that most of the cases, 64, were from Nairobi, followed by Turkana at 34, and other counties followed in succession. And Dr. Aman said that as a result of the high number of cases, the Nairobi remand prison would be locked. So there would be no new remandees and no movement in and out of the prison, adding that the directive also stopped the transfers of remandees until the situation is under control. CAS said that the justice sector, particularly the judiciary, police and prisons, should make alternative plans to ensure the judicial process was not disrupted. And he says this is to curtail movement in and out of prison to contain and break the transmission chain.
Have they not already come up with measures to have court cases proceed without transferring prisoners or remandees from the remand prison to the courtroom and back?
Sure, that was instituted before, but I think they had gone to a place. Yeah, it was. They'd gone to a state now where things were slowly being reintroduced, and now clearly are being asked to stop it.
Okay. The number of cases was still rising in these counties, Nakuru, Mombasa. Kiambu had 8 cases out of the ones that were announced yesterday. we've gotten though to that same. We still go back to that point. For example, when you're talking about those cases that were being announced yesterday, more than 50% of them having come from the remand prison. Was this a test that was conducted the day before yesterday? Was it a test that was conducted? And what made them do that mass testing in a prison? Was it because of rising number of remandees or inmates who are seeking
presenting with symptoms?
Yeah.
It would be interesting to get that kind of information. But this comes off of the back of a couple of weeks ago when they said that they would reintroduce targeted testing. Now, we don't know if this is one of the centers where they chose to do this. It doesn't provide that information. It just is at the end tail of it where it has said, this is what they have found. So likelihood of them continuing targeted testing in different areas, as Dr. Mercy Mwangangi had announced 2 weeks ago, we probably will see that now moving forward.
Yeah.
The test kits that we've been waiting for a month, have they arrived?
I don't know.
Maybe they're in prison.
They're on lockdown. Because all these things that we are talking about will likely not be possible if we do not have test kits. Or have I misunderstood something?
No.
This story of the test kits really needs to be unraveled.
Did they come? Did they not come? Are we able to?
No, are they available?
Are they?
And where are they available? Because other people
doing.
seem to get them. Okay, let me now speak like a native. Can we just ask them where they get theirs?
Yeah, as in tell us. You know how you see
Can we
something that you
borrow
like.
theirs?
City, where
Can
did you
we
get your
borrow
shirt?
also? Or better still, we can we ask them, look, as we're having difficulties ordering, can we order through you? So that when
Do the Kenyan thing. You omba chumbi, omba sukari.
then guess what the person thinks it's okay, omba sahani.
Omba.
Then say, this chumbi is really good, the sahani is good, but you need to put something on it. Then now you
Kona kaunga
kidogo hivi bas.
Just do the same. I'm seeing an article here written by Patrick Amoth, the Director General of Health, Acting Director General of Health, talking about learning how the crisis center handled COVID-19. And this crisis center he's talking about is the Public Health Emergency Operations Center, PHEOC, which was inaugurated in May 2016. It's domiciled in the ministry's Directorate of Public Health, and it says it's responsible for collection, collation, analysis, presentation, utilization of health event data and information, timely event-specific operational decision-making, coordination of response to public health events with stakeholders, mobilization and deployment of resources, designing appropriate health messages to create public awareness, community engagement, and social mobilization, and monitoring financial commitments and providing administrative services for the ministry's emergency response.
This is in Kenya?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's not a new thing. It's been here since 2016. So this has really helped us in the fight against COVID-19. And so that's why he says that no wonder then that when the first case of COVID-19 was detected in Kenya on March 12, we quickly swung into action. Before that, PHOC had developed a robust contingency plan for the response to the pandemic. Besides staff screening travelers at all points of entry, the center enhanced response activities like receiving alerts through the 719 hotline and rapid response to alerts. Screening and testing has helped to detect 38,700 cases from 552,000 tests. PHEOC has also facilitated contract tracing of 42,000 people, coordinated evacuation and quarantining of 38,000 people. It has conducted grassroots training on COVID-19 response and rolled out sensitization, mentorship, and support. Imagine if we did not have this PHOC. Where would we be?
Eric,
I was waiting for the music to start playing.
Just wait. No, this guy's rehearsing for something.
That's what I'm telling you now. Performance. I was
Because
waiting for
I was
the music.
listening to
Rehearsal.
this. For a moment there, I was lost. I thought, oh, sports commentating.
Me, I didn't know that it was Kenya. No, honestly, I'm
This
not
is the
being funny.
country,
I
and
didn't know
this
that it's
is
Kenya you're talking
this
about.
is our center. And let me just tell you again. We established this thing with the support of the World Health Organization.
Even okay.
In May 2016. It's called the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. It's domiciled in the ministry's Directorate of Public Health. it is the one that has helped us fight COVID the way we have.
Yeah. Okay.
Our success story
It's because of the PHOC.
because of PHEOC. Imagine if you didn't have this thing.
What did they do again?
Those many nice things. The one I heard was rapid evacuation and quarantining of 38,000.
Let me tell you what they did.
Oh, here we go.
Even before March 12th, when we detected the first case, they had developed a robust contingency plan for the response to the pandemic.
Okay.
Besides that,
So in short, they had a tool.
yes, there was staff screening travelers at all points of entry.
The dirty lie.
If
Dirty lie.
We had people coming in through JK and saying, we were given
Ebola form.
Ebola forms. So I told, okay, you just go.
Just go. No problem.
It had that in place.
But you see, there were people giving you those forms. It's not a lie.
Yeah, there was staff screening.
Yes, exactly. And then if it's JKIA, there's like a monitor which actually determines your temperature.
Yeah, there was that thing.
It's been there, yes, for a long time. It's there. Yes,
Then-
there's a medical unit at the airport. They carry on, Eric, yes?
The center enhanced response activities like receiving alerts through hotline and rapid response to alerts. They screened and tested, and this is what has helped us to detect 38,700 cases out of the 552,000 that we have tested so far. It is because of PHEOC, which also facilitated contact tracing of 42,000 people. It coordinated evacuation and quarantining of 38,000 people. PHEOC. Our success is very well documented.
Okay, we thank God for this PHEOC, because if not...
I'm telling you, 20 years down the road from today, the kind of information and documentation that people will be reading of how Kenya
It's this
was
one.
alert in times of COVID-19, what the government did, what PHOC had already prepared. There'll be, those things will already be there. With this is protocol A, protocol B, protocol C, rollout screening at the JKIA, quarantine centers and facilities, contact tracing. It's gonna be very well documented.
Okay.
I will be saying, learn from the experience of Kenyans.
Okay.
They were alert, they were aware.
They were. That is not a lie.
They were not.
They were alert. What is certain is that if you're talking about institutions that are actually set up to either forestall, foresee, implement, we don't lack for those. That has never been a subject of discussion or difference. Where our difference always comes in is when we ask, all right, we've understood what they're supposed to do. Clearly, there's nothing difficult to understand. And this thing which you say they do, where exactly do they do them?
That's the question. Somebody saw it and the rest of you didn't see it.
It is domiciled at the Ministry of Health,
Yes.
Directorate of Public Health.
You see, if the Ministry of Health perhaps took a little leaf from the corporate sector.
I thought you were going to say from the Ministry of Education.
No. This isn't one of those situations where you want someone to take a leaf from another by following a bad example. No. The corporate sector always shouts very loudly from any available rooftop. They always talk about what they do. If the ministry took the view of telling Kenyans, communicating a little more about these things that they do and what they have done, in the same way that we have, since COVID reached our shores, on a daily basis, the Ministry of Health has sought to inform us. On a daily basis.
Every day,
Yes.
without fail.
Commendable. If they took that sort of attention on the things that they have planned and all the various units. For instance, if they had spoken about and made it known that there was 5 billion shillings they had set aside and actually disbursed to the counties, specifically for COVID, all right? It then enables the citizenry of those counties to hold their county governments to account. Because they were given the money. But we saw the merry-go-round that happened.
Merry-go-round.
I know we saw it. The government goes there to determine whether these things have happened. Suddenly the beds have been taken from God knows where, God knows something. You actually think that you are watching a torrid comedy, and yet it's reality.
Too much drama.
Exactly.
Time for a break, 20 minutes after 6. Let's look at the weather, what's happening in the skies today.
Next week on the Great Kenyan Bake Off.
It's all about the luck.
Okay, wow.
The second group of 6 take to the tent. How will they compare to Heat 1?
I'm good to go.
Bring it on.
Catch the drama in
The weather with Spice FM.
Okay, let's look at the Wednesday morning skies. And Nairobi this morning is partly cloudy. We'll see clear skies coming through, 14 degrees, highs of 28 and lows of 12 today. And moving on into Nyeri, 13 degrees, clear skies, highs of 26 and lows of 13. Nakuru is partly cloudy at 14 degrees, going to highs of 24 and lows of 12, and a chance of showers later in the day. Clear skies in Eldoret at 13 degrees, thunderstorms in the forecast for later with highs of 23 and lows of 13. Kisumu is partly cloudy at 20, highs of 28 and lows of 19, and it looks like a wet afternoon as it does in Kakamega, where there are thunderstorms in the forecast. Highs of 26 and lows of 15. Is currently partly cloudy at 16. It's partly cloudy in Mombasa, 25 degrees, and it's going to come in with some rain. The high today will be 31 and lows of 24. It's partly cloudy in Malindi at 26, highs of 29 and lows of 25. Take a look then into Kampala, where it's mostly cloudy at 18 degrees, highs of 27 and lows of 18 with a chance of showers later on. Clear skies and partly cloudy conditions will mark the Dar es Salaam morning. Highs of 32 today and lows of 23. It's mostly cloudy in Johannesburg at 13, highs of 21 and lows of 11. Let's look into Lagos, where scattered thunderstorms are the order of the morning at 29 degrees. That'll be the high and coming down to lows of 23. It's well into the afternoon in Beijing, and it's mostly sunny at 17, highs of 23, and it's going to come down to a low of 8 today. Looking into London, and it's 11 degrees and clear skies with a few clouds here and there, highs of 16 and lows of 11. Paris is mostly cloudy at 12 degrees, highs of 17 with a chance of showers anytime from now. Tuesday night in New York, and 18 degrees, clear skies, and when the sun does rise, highs of 21 and lows of 16.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice.
The live stream is up. Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and www.spicefm.co.ke. Who's online?
Welcome to the Situation Room, and Godfrey Mochama, Kisumu Kibos, always keeping in Spice FM. Good morning. And Charity Mina, new listener from Nakuru. Thumbs up. Welcome to you. And Manu or Gino, well represented. Asante sana. Shege Wandungu, locked in. Karibu sana, everybody, this morning.
Great, karibuni sana. Let's take a look at the headlines, but before that, we always begin with today's proverb.
If the moon loves you, why worry about the stars?
Because you want more love.
If the moon loves you, why worry about the stars? Tafakari that one.
Very nice one. You love the bigger one.
Yeah.
If. Why? Nice. If.
Why?
Why?
Okay.
Very good. All right, headlines. Start.
So, it's schools opening. That's what we see on the front pages of all of this in the Standard, what new school calendar means, and the holiday is over on the front page of The Nation. 2020 will not be a lost year after all. Children troop back to class from Monday, signaling the government's determination to avoid class repetitions. which would have created a messy backlog in the education system. Parents caught off guard by the announcement have 5 days to raise school fees. And a quote by George Makoha, the CS, Ministry of Education: although physical distancing will remain a challenge, it should not be used as a bottleneck to keep any child away from school. Though we don't think that it is the physical distancing that is going to keep children away from school. But okay, looking into the details of this particular story, exam candidates to begin gradual school reopening. They open next week for learners in 3 classes, crucial to transitioning to the next educational levels, signaling the government's determination to salvage an academic year disrupted by 6 months closure of institutions. Education Cabinet Secretary George Makoha yesterday instructed Grade 4, Standard 8 and Form 4 learners to report for their second term on Monday. The selection apparently informed by the need to eliminate a bottleneck in the system that would have forced students to repeat classes. Magoha has opted for a phased reopening, giving priority to the Pioneer Competency-Based Curriculum CBC class and the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education and Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education exam candidates who will now sit their tests in March and April 2021. So, the decision to recall finalists in the 3 stages was informed by the need to ease transitioning and to avoid a backlog in the system. The partial reopening was approved during a cabinet meeting chaired by President Kenyatta after he flew back from an official visit to France. However, just quickly, the statement was silent on the fate of some other 12 million learners who, with reports that an announcement on the proposed dates for the rest was delayed because the president demanded more details on the plans put in place to protect them.
Okay. So, I see they're saying that there'll be double exams. The 2020 class sits in March next year. So this year's candidates sit in March next year.
Yes.
And then when the others reopen in January, they go into Standard 8 and they go into Form 4. The current Standard 7s and Form 3s, they sit the exam at the end of the year in December. The question is, when do this year's Standard 8s join Form 1?
In June, in end of May.
So are we changing the entire calendar?
Yes. So the
Going forward.
No. So what essentially they're saying will happen is that you're going to have a shortened term 2 and obviously a shortened term 3. So the entire year that would have finished in December now will finish end of April.
Okay.
And so now you will put another year there.
So May to December will
June
be
and December. Okay?
Okay.
So another year of learning then will happen between June and December 2021. And then come January 2022, things will go back to normal of January to December.
So are they going to reduce the time that children normally go on holidays?
And like this one now, it's just a week for these
For
guys.
like this year, it'll be just a week. So then what will happen, everybody else, dependent on when they, either way, dependent on whatever they do, nobody is going to repeat classes. Anybody who, even if they're going to go back in January and the rest of the pupils don't go back this year, even if they go back in January, you will go into second term and third term. Whatever happens, they must be done with the year that should have finished in December by the end of May. So you will finish the current class by the end of May 2021. And then come June 2022, you will go into
the next year. So Standard 7s will be Standard 7s until May next year.
Yes.
And then now after that, they become Standard 8s.
Yes.
And then
So
they
if
sit
you're
the
Standard
exam at
7,
the end of the year.
Yeah, so if you're a Standard 7 now, you will finish the year Standard 7 in May. And then you will finish the year Standard 8 in December.
Does it start in May or June?
It ends in June, so you'll finish it in May. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. In a way, it addresses the concerns of very many of the pupils and the learners.
In terms of repetition of classes.
Who were
Or
feeling
in
like,
terms of being late.
you're going to be a Standard 7 until December 2021.
That one was a little difficult to swallow.
Yeah. So at least it addresses that, right?
Yes, and also you see with the repetition comes additional cost.
Yeah.
It's like you're paying again for something that you probably had paid for. Yeah, that one wasn't going to sit well with the parents.
No. So so what happens essentially is that in a year you would have finished 2 years of. In a year you would have finished 2 years of work. That's what is being proposed.
So I guess if you look at it from that side, then you can see they're addressing many of the concerns. The one concern that they seem not to, always just to be rushing through is making that announcement and the amount of time that you're giving. You announce it on Tuesday and you say Monday, come to school.
It's a bit cutthroat.
Yeah.
I
wish
really
even that by the time the president was speaking, I wish he had said that, yes, schools are going to open
in a couple of weeks.
in a couple of weeks. Between now and then, I expect to hear this, and I will come and tell you that I have received, but start preparing for the opening of schools. In the meantime, I am monitoring by myself to see whether everything is in place. If it's not in place, you will not open, but work with the assumption that you're going to open.
Unfortunately, and time again, the ministry has worked without the buy-in of the major stakeholders here. Unfortunately.
Who are these?
Parents and children. They are the ones. Because you're going to have schools without students. You're going to have students in school without their parents' involvement. For sure. A lot of these things should be taken into consideration. No, but think about it now, really. Would it have hurt to just do what you had said? Would it have hurt? Somebody whose mindset, somebody's mind had been reset a certain way. And then you come in the middle of the week and you say, well, you know what? It's not that on Monday, start thinking about coming. Monday, be here.
Yeah.
And you want to assume that everybody's in the vicinity of their school. They have to travel. They have to think of traveling across the country. People don't have money. I mean,
there's one little event that also took place yesterday with the announcement of this back to school declaration. Court case.
Omutata.
Yep. It's under certificate of urgency.
Yeah.
Like clockwork.
Yes. Let's wait and see what the court
becomes of that.
What the courts will say about this. And remember, with cases like this, the court can determine that you halt everything until this matter has been clearly presented to them.
It's very possible. We also heard that yesterday. I mean, there was a case where a certain parent had actually taken the Ministry of Education to task and asked, why are you not opening schools? And yesterday, before this cabinet meeting, the High Court had actually called on the CS and asked, why have you not given us an answer at the court? So you can imagine things like this being filed. Courts are going to demand for answers.
Let's take a break, another break at 27 minutes to 7. Let's see what's happening on the roads. These conversations continue right here on Spice FM broadcasting 94.4 Nairobi. Mombasa, are you awake? 87.9, 102.5 in Kisumu, Nakuru, 96.0, 96.7 in Eldoret, Nyeri, 90.9, Malindi, 97.7.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Spice FM, Malindi. Traffic.
Okay, good tidings this morning, and Jogoro is looking very good. Getting into the CBD with no problems whatsoever. Looks great. Mombasa Road is already clogging up, however, coming all the way from Lolongo and then heading towards the JKIA turnoff. It's not so smooth this morning. It's going to be a bumper-to-bumper situation for some time. So if you're getting onto Mombasa Road, you need to be aware of what's going on there. All right, Techra Road traffic, as you're getting into the CBD, that's fine. However, there is a large group of riot police in Githurai 45 this morning. The mission is unknown at this point, and everybody's being quite cautious in terms of how they move. So please do be on your merry way without too much drama. And at this point, it's clear. Kiambu Road, however, is a mashup already. Bumper-to-bumper situation on Kiambu Road as you try to connect with the Thika Superhighway and get through to the CBD. It's going to be a bit of a tough one, but let's pepper it all with a bit of patience and understanding, shan't we? Let's do that. Let's look into the CBD in a while and see what that looks like later as you try to get in from different parts. Okay? Spice FMKE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter, or our SMS line is 40127.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
24 minutes to 7. The conversation continues here on Spice FM. Other headlines in the papers this morning, apart from schools reopening.
Counties set to get funds as MPs approve revenue bill.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that matter that took forever to determine the back and forth. We are informed on page 6 of the Business Daily that the National Assembly last evening approved the county allocation of Revenue Bill 2020, paving the way for the release of funds to counties.
Okay.
So, as they say, kazi kwako.
It's done.
It's done. Now just make sure the funds are available. So now the focus will be on Treasury.
Let's see how long this will take now from Treasury.
This should be interesting.
Actually, no, the Uni have not yet. Did they pass? It's a committee of Parliament that reviewed the bill from the Senate, and they have approved. So it still needs to be voted by all the MPs.
I am actually reading what is written here.
Just
And
read
they
that.
say the National Assembly last evening approved. National Assembly, not committee. Okay.
So they voted.
What does that particular article that you are reading?
This one in the Standard says the parliamentary committee yesterday recommended to the House to concur with the Senate on the proposed bill on sharing of revenue among counties. The National Assembly Budget and Appropriations Committee, however, raised concerns on the disbursement of Nairobi City County allocation to the newly created NMS. The Kanini Kega-led team pointed out that the equitable share, the national government conditional allocation, blah, 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 blah. Okay. There's nowhere they say that they later voted.
This article actually says that the MPs also approved this bill, paving the way for President Uhuru
To sign it into law.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's it. That's it. So the writer of this did not take into account that there was
Playing
actually
catch up.
voting.
He was reporting something that happened previously.
Yeah.
And had not updated the information on that particular. Remember, this thing had an element of urgency to it. Huh?
Yes.
But isn't it amazing how quickly and how smoothly this has gone?
Chap chap. That's what it needed. I'm looking for the county that seems to be receiving the highest allocation, which is there is Turkana 10.57 million, Nairobi 15.9 million, Mandera 10.2 million, Kilifi 10.6 million, Kakamega 10.57 million, Mandera, I said Mandera 10.2, yes. So yeah, the counties are receiving the big money
Fantastic.
in coming days. So now, pesa kwenu, kazi kwenu. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
Let's see if the strikes will
Let's see
continue.
how soon the president signs this. Let's see how soon then they are able to write to the controller of budget and then accessing the money.
To get the money out.
Yes.
Okay. So, how calls from above okayed Murang'a chaos? This is a story on the Standard, page 2. Area police had intelligence there would be violence and planned to stop it. But then a senior state officer told them to look the other way, paving way for deadly clash. Eyebrow-raising moment, perhaps. But let's look into the details of this particular one and what it says. Okay? So, according to this story, police officers supposed to be on duty during the chaotic visit to Murang'a County by Deputy President William Ruto were withdrawn the last minute despite intelligence reports indicating the possibility of violence. Sources within the police service have revealed that a detailed security plan prepared by the local police and shared with their seniors at the county and regional levels was trashed a day before the chaotic Sunday. Details of the security plans are contained in a police document dubbed Operation Order. The document, which had been trashed, came to light yesterday after senior police commanders recorded statements with the Police Internal Affairs Unit. The commanders stationed at Makuyu Police Station recorded statements with a 6-man team from the IAU. A verbal communication was issued to local police instructing them to withdraw all officers from Kennel Town on the day Ruto and his brigade were to attend the church function at the Kennel AIPCA church.
So now, so what are you saying?
That all of them say the orders came from above. We don't know who it was at the top that they are referring to. And this is a police officer familiar with the Murang'a violence investigations.
You know, there are two scenarios, and both of them are worrying. One scenario is that the intelligence and security agencies knew of the plan, what was afoot, and they did not act. Very worrying. The other probable scenario is that intelligence and security agencies had no idea of what was going to happen.
That's even more worrying.
That is even more worrying. But one of those two is the most likely scenario. Now, the police have got to come up and show us, the security agencies have got to come up and show us, really, did these two young people have to die? When you have security and intelligence agencies.
Remember we had a caller who gave us a very clear picture of what happened and said the police had been there early in the morning.
They were there even before the matatu started
Long
riding.
before. They probably assumed that the buses, as he said, were ferrying people from parishioners from
Worshippers.
other. Yes, exactly. And everything was peaceful. But the police were stationed, they were there. The whole saga, apart from the tear gas lobbying, we don't hear of any police involvement in anything.
No.
We don't. So the question that you then ask is, okay, so at what point did they realize that things were not going as they had expected, that this thing was no longer going to be peaceful?
They slept on the job. That's the bottom line of this thing, that they slept on the job, either willingly and willfully or just caught off guard. But they slept on the job. They must have known this was happening. There's nothing that stopped them from stopping those people from boarding the matatu from wherever they were boarding those matatus. Or even stopping those matatus somewhere, anywhere on Thika Road. Just ensuring that those people do not proceed.
They could have.
There's a lot they could have done.
They could have done
There's
a lot. The night prior, they had a lot that they could have done, but they didn't. The case of Keroche and the inquest into the death of their daughter, Techra Muigai, is still making headlines. An inquest into the death of the Keroche brewery's heiress, Techra Muigai, will proceed after a Nairobi court dismissed attempts by the prosecution to block her mother from filing evidence in the case. DPP Noordin Haji had opposed the admission of an affidavit filed by Tabitha Karanja, but the principal magistrate Zainab Abdul ruled that it was properly before the court. She is claiming that in her affidavit that there are attempts by the DPP to cover up her daughter's death, and she wants a special prosecutor appointed to handle the inquest because the DPP is either compromised or incompetent.
You know, this is an emotive matter. This is a lady whose child has died.
Yes.
However, there is yet another side to this story as to who is it who decides where the case should be heard. And if you look at what is reported again in the Business Daily, they are reporting it as a Kinoti Haji Power tussle playing out in the Keroche heiress inquest.
How now?
One, the director of criminal investigations directed that this case should be heard in Nairobi. The DPP has said, no, excuse me. It is my office that decides where cases should be heard, and I want this case heard in Lamu. The argument is, but all the witnesses in this case are in Nairobi. Of course, one could argue, see, they can travel to Lamu.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, but
Where are the witnesses in Nairobi when a death occurred in Lamu?
again, that is now part of the discussion that is taking place. So instead of this matter being looked at as a case that needs to be responded to, it's this tussle for who has the power. But my little understanding, actually, the DCI doesn't determine where court cases are heard.
Yeah.
They present
this
whatever
is
evidence they have to the court, wherever that court is. Yes.
actually to the DPP. The
Yes.
DPP is the one who goes to
decide-
court.
yes, exactly.
And this is a public inquest. So the Karanjas are against the move to take this thing to Lamu because they're saying that Techra's boyfriend, Omar Lali, has a lot of influence in the Lamu Island. This is what they're saying. Boat transport is the most reliable in Lamu, but since the key suspect owns and operates many boats, the family has well-founded fear and may not travel to attend the inquest without significant threat to their lives. So they're saying that they are calling him the key suspect. And they're saying he has a lot of influence there. He has very many supporters. He has beach boys who can harm the family. So they're saying,
Those are possibilities. But since this case began, has there been even the slightest indication when this gentleman was arrested? Was there any insurrection? Was there a protest? Was there, even when he was taken to court, has there been any indication whatsoever?
I haven't heard any.
Not that I've heard of. But even more significantly, this is the case of grieving parents
Yeah.
seeking justice for their child. And they want what they believe would be best for their child. But let's look at what we're really discussing here. Okay? This gentleman who has been accused of having been complicit in the death of this young lady, what could he possibly have gained from her death? Because it boils down to motive. What could he possibly have gained?
Yeah.
As things stand, it's not as though he's some poverty-stricken person who doesn't have a livelihood. No, he does. So what is it?
What is it that you'd have gained
Yes.
from her
The
death?
good thing about an inquest is that you actually get to hear from other people what could possibly have happened.
Yeah.
You will talk about the background. You will talk
And
about...
even the motive could even actually arise out of that.
Yes,
But you just
exactly.
hear that and you
Say,
realize,
okay, this could be it, because-
it wasn't about the money, it was
No.
about something else.
We don't know what the relationship was. Maybe there was an issue in the relationship. All manner of things will be able to come out, which currently we do not know. But I sympathize with the parents of the young lady who passed away. Because if your child is dead, I don't think as a parent you will leave any stone unturned in trying to resolve the matter.
Yeah.
Yes. And also in trying to find someone who you think should be responsible for the death of that child of yours. It's what a parent would do.
Sure, and until you do, there's no kind of closure that you're going to be able to
No,
get.
no.
There's no adequate compensation for the loss of a child.
But this matter is before the court. Let the court show us the way forward in this one.
Let's see how it happens.
Yes.
12 minutes to 7, another time for another quick break, and then we'll be back and look at other headlines. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, so today is the 7th of October. On the 9th of October, yes, CT, on the 9th of October. Okay, the 9th of October, there'll be a live simulcast of, remember we had a conversation here with ladies who are popularizing the event by John Maxwell, the popular author. And this is the Lead to
No,
Live
not
conference.
the popular, the very popular.
Very, very,
Very popular. Much acclaimed author.
very good.
Yes.
So the Standard Group PLC and Value Connect in partnership with Absa Bank are bringing to you a live simulcast of The Lead to Live by popular author John Maxwell. And now what we want you to do is take advantage of this by buying a ticket. 19,900 shillings. You get a premium package that comes with a virtual link to the leadership platform on the 9th of October, plus immediate access to 21 lessons from the Live to Live 2019 speakers. 72 hours on-demand replay access. Access to the local speakers panel conversation on the virtual link. A certificate of attendance, an autographed book by John Maxwell, The Leader's Greatest Return. That's a new release that was released in February 2020. And a printed event book resource material, private networking community, a bonus John Maxwell Leadership game session workshop. That's for corporate teams. And to get your ticket, all you need to do is dial this number, 0719 012 520. That's 0719 012 520 or 0799 748 069. 0799 748 069. Once you purchase your ticket, you get rewarded with the John Maxwell book. Only 19,900 for this, and there will be very, very many and good speakers, right? Of course, John Maxwell himself, there are others in the panel that will be addressing this particular event in 2 days' time.
All right.
Great. So let's look at other headlines.
So, Amina dealt blow in race to head the World Trade Organization. Sports CS Amina Mohammed's hope of heading the World Trade Organization has been dealt a blow after the European Union chose to back Nigerian and South Korean contenders. The announcement on Monday in Brussels, Belgium, may not directly mean that Ms. Mohammed is out of the race yet, but it came just 48 hours to the pronouncement by the WTO of the final two contenders who will battle it out for the seat. The global trade refereeing body, which has 164 member states, is today expected to announce 2 out of the remaining 5 candidates who will proceed to the final round of the vote. This is after it received the broadest and deepest support from the WTO membership on Monday. The 27-member European Union endorsed Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and Yoo Myung-bee, of South Korea, to battle it out in the final round. Other candidates include Mr. Mohammed Maziad Al-Tuwajiri of Saudi Arabia and Dr. Liam Fox of the UK. The EU, a diplomatic source told the nation, was looking for the best candidate while staying on the safe side. By choosing 2 women, one from South Korea and the other from Nigeria, the European bloc wants to ensure a woman leads the WTO for the first time, regardless of the region she comes from.
And
According
the
to
one
the
from
source.
Kenya is not a woman?
She's a woman. But they wanted to stay on the safe side and choose the
Staying on
best
the safe
candidate.
side. It's okay, we know our friends.
We are friends.
Yes.
Are we?
We are friends.
You know our friends.
Are we
We are
really?
friends
Yeah.
to the bitter end.
Look, Kenya has been on a campaign to occupy, some of these key international organizations at the leadership position, right? And this is just one of our.
It's okay, you might get the...
How exactly does it help the country?
if you have a Kenyan sitting at the helm
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
asking because I
WTO.
don't understand.
Oh.
How? You know this funny bone that you guys carry to the studio every morning? You need to park some of it outside before we actually get to the studio.
He just took Eric's whole creed and he crumpled it up and threw it in the
Apart from pride, all right? Apart from pride, that for example, how does the presence of Guterres help Portugal? Apart from pride of knowing that, it's our man at the helm. The whole time when Kofi Annan was the head of the UN, the entire African continent had some sense of pride. It's our man at the helm.
There was Boutros Ghali.
And there was Boutros Ghali, right?
Yes.
The Egyptian.
Yes.
It's our man at the helm. There's that feeling of pride. Secondly, just look at, for example, UNCTAD and Muhisa Kitui as Secretary General, right? And what kind of, just because he's there and what kind of influence that maybe he's been able to do. For example, bringing in Jack Ma into the country. Remember, he's the one who organized to bring Jack Ma into the country. The conversations that have happened around trade and development in this region and in the country because of the influence, direct push by Dr. Muhisa Kitui. Right? So some of those things, and having a Kenyan occupying that, it's a job.
Yeah.
All right. I acknowledge the effort.
Yeah, it's a job.
No, the effort is
Why is it that,
commendable.
for example, you'd see all these countries, propping their nationalities there?
Okay.
It's prestige as well, so okay.
Okay. I didn't fully understand. Now at least I have some understanding.
Because you Conjuela, the Nigerian, she's good. She was a finance minister. What else? She was working the World Bank. Yeah. She's good. Okay, yeah, she's good. So is Amina Mohammed.
You're only speaking like that because she's Kenyan.
Yes.
It's good now.
Yes.
No, the point that Eric makes is valid. We must support our own.
Okay.
It's not like she's inexperienced in working for the international organizations. Absolutely not. Actually, she's even worked for the WTO before as Counsel General. General Counsel.
It's like daily business, but it's all good. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see.
And she was a deputy head of UNEP before she was tapped by Jubilee to come back into government and serve. Yeah. But anyway, decision not yet made, right? So today is when they announce the final two that will go into the final decision making.
Yeah, and
Out
just
of the
look,
5,
out of the 5, let's see.
Amina will
the
be
2.
there.
Okay, let's see. Keep hope alive, Eric, won't
Yeah,
you?
but
Another
Amina
place
will
where
be
you could
there.
keep hope alive is the Nobel Literature Prize 2020 could go to Ngugi wa Thiong'o. He was widely expected to bag it in 2016, and it was awarded to a rock star. So Kenyan academic and author Ngugi wa Thiong'o may be the one to take this recognition, Eric, that you're looking for. He may again hold his breath this year as the Nobel Committee decides who becomes the next winner of its Literature Prize for 2020. Ngugi, 82, may hope to become the second black African to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. There had only been 5 winners from Africa since 1957. So, however, the prize keeps eluding Ngugi, and one of Africa's most revered writers who has always been projected as a favorite. In 2016, he was widely expected to win it, but the Nobel Committee awarded it to American rock legend Bob Dylan, causing a worldwide spark. This year, Ngugi must first face up the names being tossed about. They include Antiguan American author Jamaica Kincaid, who authored a small piece, Canadian poet Anne Carson, Hungary's Peter Das, and American novelist Thomas Pynchon. It's a wide open field ahead of tomorrow's announcement, with the literary circles abuzz about whether the nod will go yet again to a controversial pick or a crowd pleaser.
We've talked about this in the committee before. It's their decision.
Yes.
It's
It's not a
unquestioned.
vote.
But we really must discuss
It is
the
not-
decision-making process of these committees. We must. What it is that they base their decisions on, how many committees are there, how many prizes are there. Because like one of the most controversial prizes has been the Peace Prize.
Yep.
It has been an issue of contention for a long time.
For a long time.
Yes.
Even these ones of, this like the literature one. How many times have you heard Ngugi wa Thiong'o's name being touted? Many. But you see, you can talk all you want. Those guys, they're the ones who
They'll select
decide.
and select.
They are the ones who, and they don't come on to tell you, we had 5 names that we were considering. Then we looked at Ngugi, we thought, no, he's still too young, let him hit 80.
They actually don't owe you an explanation.
They don't. They don't. It's
So
their decision.
It's their decision, it's their money, isn't
It's
it?
theirs,
After all.
after all. We had a conversation about them some time back. We should revisit. We
Shall
shall
we
revisit.
visit?
Yes. Coming to the top of the hour, this is Kenya's biggest conversation. We'll be live on KTN Home in the next hour for the next 2 hours. And in the next hour, we speak with the Amani National Congress leader, who is the presidential hopeful, Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi. Keep it right here. We'll be back shortly. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Broadcasting Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Eldoret, Nyeri, Malindi, and worldwide. It's now 7 o'clock.
Spice up your life. Spice FM, Nakuru.
Take a quick look at Mombasa Road this morning, and it seems to be, yes, clogging up. We said this all the way from Lolongo, and you get to the JKIA turnoff, and so you've been in traffic for a while there. It's a bumper-to-bumper situation, and it's going to take us some time to get out of this one. But it's expected. As you then get to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, and you're heading towards the CBD and then out towards Westlands, it's going to go slow, guys. Coming in from Bagadi Road and then joining Langata Road as well, as you then get to the Timor roundabout. You can get onto Bagadi Way with not too much of a problem, but you head towards Nyayo Stadium, it's going to go slower. Industrial area also a clog up as well. We see that Likoni and Lunga Road still closed. That still causes some problems as far as traffic is concerned. Jogo Road, however, looks good trying to get into the CBD. Coming off of Thika Road is fantastic. Let's see how many great adjectives you can use to describe that one this morning. Spice of MKE. That's how you can reach us on Twitter in case you get stuck or you find an alternate route. Text us as well on 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muigai, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to
2.5
start
minutes
your
after
day.
7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. A very good morning and welcome to our audience on KTN Home. We've been here since 6 and we'll be here until 10. And this happens each and every weekday morning. As we begin the hour, C.T. Muigai, please remind us today's proverb.
If the moon loves you, why worry about the stars?
If the moon loves you, why worry about the stars? Because you want to be loved by many, not by one big one.
If God loves you, why worry about these humans?
Oh, so the why worry when you can pray? Or should it be why pray when you can worry?
Why worry about them? Let's welcome our guest in the studio this morning, Musalia Mudavadi, the leader of the Amani National Congress and a presidential hopeful. Thank you very much for joining us again, sir, and welcome to the Situation Room.
Well, thank you. At least it's good to see you guys here. One thing is confirmed, that COVID didn't reach you.
We thank God.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Yes, yes. And also good that we also confirm the same.
Right.
You know, we haven't heard anything about COVID and you
Right.
in the same sentence.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Right.
So still pushing on with the campaigns for 2022, still positioning yourself for that race?
Yes, that is happening, my friend. But of course, it has to be at a lower scale. One, because the elections are still 2 years away, and then clearly you have to operate within the rigid protocols that we all have to continue observing, bearing in mind that COVID is still with us, and we don't want it to spike again. Yes.
Is that something that everybody's picking up on, even as we talk about it? Because I remember specifically during the National COVID Conference, you said these exact words, and you threw out the warning to politicians across the country. And I believe the president then quoted you in his speech the same day, saying that we ought to be careful. But it doesn't appear that anybody's being careful. even after that?
Yes, I mean, not everybody is being careful, and it worries everybody because, you see, at the end of the day, what comes out of this is, do you really believe it's just a matter of anxiety, or are we also people who have been now clearly inducted into the culture of impunity as a society? Because ordinarily, I think we should all be very, very careful. And that is why when I spoke at the conference, I said, who are the actual fault lines? Where's the weakest link in this battle against COVID, and more so those who seem to be breaching the guidelines with at the highest levels. And I think I'll still maintain that politicians in this regard seem to be one of the most dangerous fault lines.
And why is that? Is it because you feel that you're above, not above the law really, but that you can bend the law?
It's impunity, my friend. I think people have, the wheels of justice sometimes take too long. And what we have seen is that perhaps people need to be, to some extent, people may need to be jolted into reality through the law enforcement agencies. That first of all, an election has not been declared. If there's an election has only been declared in Musambweni. This is where we are going to have the elections and maybe a few by-elections. But the rest of the country, there's no election that is taking place. So I think, and there are laws that govern this, laws that make it clear when you can start your electioneering process and so forth. So if there are any activities now, continued heightened activity could be very detrimental to the country. And indeed, just a few days ago, we have seen the incidents in Murang'a. Did anybody have to die at this stage, or at all, for that matter, because politicians are sparring?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Still talking about politicians and how politicians have been conducting themselves during this period. We can name all of them and even place fault on each. The president goes out to meet people, and people will obviously come out to see their president, and they will forget and not really observe the physical distancing. The former prime minister will do the same. The deputy president will do the same. Musalia Mudavadi will go to Nyeri, and people will come out to greet him. What did you feel when you were in Nyeri? And you're speaking, yes, from atop this vehicle, but people are crowding near you. Why are you not feeling, I've got a responsibility to these people with COVID-19?
Yes, we do, and that's why I say that we are a dangerous fault line. And I think because we are not following the etiquette, let's put it plainly, people are getting jittery about the election process, and somebody thinks that somebody somewhere may be getting an upper hand if he continues to talk or is allowed to talk. But the reality is 16 months or so to the election is a pretty long time. And I think, frankly speaking, our focus should be on what matters. The debate around education, which has come to the fore, the issue of resuscitating the economy. I think these are very critical areas that should actually be the focus point as we speak, not necessarily the kind of roadside shows that we are keen to as politicians. So I speak knowing that I have also breached these regulations, and it is not in self-reflection. It is something that we all need to address. Yeah.
What should happen If you were the president
I think,
and you are hearing this advice
I
from
think- I think-
Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the leader of ANC, of Jubilee, and you are the president, the leader of...
No, I think very clearly there's some guidelines about public gatherings and meetings, and it's really for the government to enforce this. At the peak of the COVID, they did enforce some of these things. So if it is clear from the conference and from what experts have been saying that we should not let our guard down, this thing could resurface with even more potent force if we are not careful. So I think the law enforcement bodies should basically say that they are not going to allow certain kinds of gatherings until the situation is clearly safe for all Kenyans.
Do we have within our laws anything that clearly stipulates or anything that strengthens the arm of our security forces with regards to this? Meaning, do we have within our laws anything that can be applied to ensure, apart from just banning it, which we understand, if someone goes against those regulations, what can actually be done?
Actually, you can be taken to court. I mean, if the guidelines regarding what should be observed, and these have been gazetted, so clearly there's some penalties for the breaches of these gazetted guidelines.
So essentially, this is actually now directly a direct responsibility of the government.
But precisely.
Okay. And so we could argue that the government has been derelict in its duties.
You have a point there, because the government should come out. Essentially, why do you get into government, or why is the government there? Apart from governing, they are also supposed to guarantee the security of all its citizens, and therefore more serious enforcement of the prudential guidelines that have been provided is necessary. They should not walk away from this. I think if they were enforcing what they should enforce, those young men in Murang'a should not have lost their lives.
Much as we say that the government has this responsibility, it has a constitution, it has a mandate to enforce the laws that have been passed and the laws that are in place. There's also the part of personal responsibility. And Musalia, I'd like us just to be very honest and sincere. When the citizens look at you people in leadership, the senior people in leadership, there's yourself, there's Raila, there's Kalonzo, there's Ruto, there's the president himself, and others, you are in one class. And so it is very possible for Kenyans to look at you and see there's absolutely no way President Uhuru Kenyatta would order the arrest of Musalia Mudavadi without there being, ramifications, even political ramifications around the country. So probably the president would not really be quick to act on Musalia as he would be very quick to act on Eric Latif or even Johnson Sakaja. But Musalia, no. So maybe it's a bigger responsibility for you as Musalia, also being a leader, to ensure that you do not do these things that show the public that you are breaching the law and then saying, but the government should enforce.
You have a point. I'll not run away from that really the onus lies in providing leadership. The leaders must lead by example. That is a fact. So we have breached, that particular aspect. But I don't think to enforce the law, the president should give an order. I think the law should be enforced. You cannot be waiting all the time that Musalia is busy punching Latif, and you say you're waiting for the president to order the arrest of Musalia.
Call from above.
So that he can stop punching Latif. I think if there's a law enforcement person on the scene or somewhere, he should play his role.
I think this is the cry, though, that the law has not been enforced in the past. And what that does is that it then gives leaders, politicians at this point, then the mindset that nothing is actually going to be done if I break the rules.
Yes, and that is the dangerous thing that we must, especially as we're moving close to the election. I mean, you know why we had a crisis in 2007, 2008, because it started like this. The the hostile language that was being brought out there by political players, it soon filtered into the ordinary citizens.
Yes.
And they started regarding others as outsiders and non-outsiders. Yet we are all Kenyans. We have seen very vulgar language being spoken only a few weeks ago, where people now think that in order to gain attention, you start going into issues that you should never really be going into, personalizing matters.
Right.
Now, systematically, this is building up into the wrong thing. We have also seen people questioning that why should the police be going for the small people and not the big people? I think maybe the authorities should just look for 1 week and round up as many of these politicians like Musalia Mudavadi. And
This is like music to our ears.
yeah,
because-
and then give it some shock therapy. Yeah, so that people can come to reality.
What if, for instance, as we've seen in the past, unfortunately, this was something that was leveled at politicians who were regarded as opposition politicians, just simply ban gatherings. Simply, just ban it. Say, no gatherings, period. Or keep it within the guidelines, 3 or 4 people, but these open-air meetings, meet the people tour, ban it. No meet the tour people, no, yes.
No to meet the people.
Nothing. No, not waving at people in marketplaces. Yes. Stay in your home. Now,
The argument that the politicians will come and tell you is they have a constitutional right to assembly and all those things. These
they-
people are very good at going at the law that they
Yes.
have made and
Yes.
picking out a line and telling you, you see, the constitution guarantees me the right to association,
Yes.
right to assembly, freedom
Yes.
of assembly, and all
Yes.
those things.
Yes.
Now you're coming to curtail my rights.
given the health situation that we have in this country,
Absolutely.
you can absolutely abrogate those rights and put them in a dustbin or confine them in a place until we have a guarantee that such gatherings will not infringe on the health rights of the citizens.
Yeah, you see, I agree with you on this one because the health of the citizens come first.
Yes.
Guaranteed health is also a constitutional requirement for the Kenyan people. So, frankly speaking, a more robust enforcement of these prudential guidelines is necessary. And politicians who are engaging in this activities should actually be called out. We should not be left, perhaps even if it means naming and shaming that this is going on. Look at what has happened to Trump the other day. You know, even him, he knows he's unwell.
Yep.
Yeah, and he pulls the kind of stance he's been pulling.
Yep.
What does that reflect?
It actually argues that Trump is consistent. in good health and in ill health, he's consistent.
He's the same man.
Yes. He doesn't deviate from the norm. Yes. And he doesn't let small things like illnesses get in the way of doing what he wants. But he's a good example to look at because the very thing that he's now undergoing is what it's argued he perpetrated the dangers of COVID on his people.
Right.
With his utterances, if one were to study the effects of leadership or bad leadership, that would be a perfect study. Because all his utterances, none of them were preventative with regards to COVID. If anything, it was laissez-faire, meaning make your own decisions. Just do what you think is okay. And went as far as even claiming this COVID really is not really true. Calling it a Chinese disease, all manner of things, but facing and saying we have a problem, we need to deal with it. He didn't declare it an issue. Even now, with his own condition, he seems to be trying to make a very light of it.
Yeah, he's
Now-
still talking about the flu season is coming, and every flu season of 100,000 people you will die.
See?
And we have dealt with it before. We shall deal with this COVID same way.
And and if you look at the numbers and you look at the crowds that come whenever senior politicians like yourself are in a place, one could argue that you're no better than Trump. Because the moment you have a meeting and you know people are going to crowd, because that's what they will do. And as it is in many of our towns in this country, people already disregard just the basic safety rules of COVID. They do. They don't wear masks. Social distancing is something you simply talk about, but it's not observed. If you wear a mask, it's for compliance when you're walking towards a police person. But beyond that, people don't bother. So, in essence, the example that we refer to as bad examples that have been propagated by Trump, you, our wonderful leaders, seem to be following him step by step. You're toe to toe with him because you're doing exactly the same thing to the citizens.
Yeah, you remember when the whole pandemic started, there was some serious attention across the board.
Yes.
And perhaps the actions that were taken at that time may have helped in slowing down the spread of that pandemic in our environs. But going forward and knowing that this issue is still a problem, and we are now talking about opening schools and so forth, I think we really, really need to think seriously and get the enforcement in place. And I do agree with you that Trump is not a good example.
What I was going to say, Mheshimiwa, is this.
So we should not be like that.
What stops you, Musalia Mudavadi, from actually leading the pack in this matter and saying you will not hold meetings, you will not do this because of this consequence, you are not going to be pulled by this, because there seems to be this pull that you can't be left behind what others are doing. Now, must you follow the others in their bad example? Why can't you make that stand and say, I, Musalia Mudavadi, I'm not going to do this because of the following reasons?
You know, they're prudential guidelines, isn't it? Yes. If it is a funeral, I think they've allowed 200 people. If it is any gatherings, there are certain limitations of those gatherings.
Yes, they have.
I can tell you that I've been very, very rigid in trying to enforce that. True, I've come across unfortunate situations where I've been railroad stopped in Karatina and so forth, and the only way sometimes to get out of that is to actually tell them that there are no gatherings, so they should allow you to go through. Yes. These are the kind of circumstances that I have found myself in. But in reality, the message you're putting is very important, that we should lead by example.
The others may not follow that lead. That's why I'm addressing you. You, what stops you from taking those steps and then talking about it? And saying, I'm Musalia Mudavadi, these are the steps I'm taking, this is what I'm doing. Because if you do them and you're quiet, we will not know that you're doing it. Will we?
No, you will not. But will you also give me the publicity that we are doing it?
Yes.
You know, that is the other side of it.
You see, if you want to make that announcement, you will get the publicity that here I am and this is what I'm declaring. And I'm also leading by example. You also have access to the social media platforms and all these other platforms where you can say, look, this is my meeting. This you can observe and see. Everybody is observing all the prudential guidelines, and this is what I stand for. Consistency, consistency, consistency. You will be covered. Even if the first one you're not covered, the third one will be covered by another media house. We'll cover you in the first one. We like to give out the space to everybody who is speaking in the country. We will give you the space.
Well, I'm yet to observe that.
You make the announcement.
I'll be watching very
You
closely.
make the announcements and then hold us accountable to our word.
It looks to me like now we're going into this whole thing of them looking at issues.
Let's just take a break now and then we come and follow the conversation. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, broadcasting on Spice FM, on KTN Home, online on Spice FM KE, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and www.spicefm.co.ke. Time for us to take a break. At 24 minutes after 7, we'll be back shortly, speaking with the Amani National Congress Party leader, Musalia Mudavadi, presidential hopeful come 2022.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Nairobi, we're looking at highs of 28 today and lows of 12, and partly cloudy conditions later on. Sunny conditions in Nyeri at 15 degrees, going to highs of 26 and lows of 13. Nakuru is mostly cloudy at 16, going to highs of 24, and a chance of rains later on. Eldoret also will experience wet conditions later with highs of 22 and lows of 12. It's mostly cloudy in Kisumu at 21 degrees. The high will be 28 today and lows of 19, and the rains will come in to cool everything down. It's partly cloudy in Kakamega at 17 degrees, highs of 26 and lows of 15. Partly cloudy conditions rule the morning in Mombasa at 26 degrees, rising to highs of 30, even with the rains. And 26 degrees, partly cloudy conditions in Malindi, going to highs of 29. Stepping out of Kenya into Kampala, 19 degrees and partly cloudy, highs of 27 and lows of 18, and a chance of showers later. Dar es Salaam is mostly cloudy at 24, going to highs of 32. Cloudy conditions in Johannesburg at 13, highs of 21 and lows of 11, and a chance of rains later on. And it's scattered thunderstorms as they continue in Lagos at 29 degrees, highs of 30 and lows of 23.
Spice FM. Spice up your life.
Okay, not too bad on Thika Road today, getting into the CBD. That is actually going along splendidly. Mombasa Road, however, is much slower, and you're taking your time getting to the CBD. We understand what this is expected. Then between the Nyeri roundabout again and all the way to Westlands, it's a bumper-to-bumper situation, moving very slowly this morning, but expected. So not major traffic. The eastern and southern bypass is open with no problems there whatsoever. If you run into a clog somewhere, do let us know. We can spread the word. Keep more people away from there or lead them to clearer roads. Spice FM KE. That's how you can reach us on Twitter. Not to forget, you can SMS on 40127.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
7 minutes after 7, the conversation continues right here, Spice FM, KTN Home and online. We have with us in the studio Musalia Mudavadi, Amani National Congress party leader and presidential hopeful come 2022. And we are discussing issue-based politics. Is this a reality? Is this just a fantasy? Is it something that we just put it out there just so that we check the boxes and we say, even Kenya, we just like the rest of the world? Ndu, I had interrupted you and you wanted to ask a question to Musalia before we went to the break.
Yeah, sure. I mean, just going off of this, I mean, you hear and you say things like, okay, well, if I don't come out and address the people directly, then will they hear me? And this is the thing about issues and issue-based politics. Whether you see an individual or not, those issues still remain very real to the people of Kenya. And this has been the cry now for a long time. And they're asking current leaders and future leaders, whoever they will be, are you really addressing the issues that concern Kenyans? Or do you want Kenyans to see you as the character as opposed to the issues which they're hoping will be addressed?
Well, I think I can speak without blinking that I'm one politician who addresses issues. I talk a lot on matters that really have a significant bearing on our country and the impact that they have on our people. When I talk about the economy, the issues I talk about debt, the implications that this huge public debt has on our ability to get out of our economic crisis. These are issues that I'm constantly talking about. What is the implication of debt on taxation? What is the implication of debt on the cost of living? It runs through. It's a thread that eventually affects our livelihoods. So I usually talk to these issues. But to be honest, I am disturbed that for a long time, and on here I'll not even spare the fourth estate. We've been fixated, or they get people fixated on the very simple, divisive issues. This is the reality. Look at the headlines for several weeks, and you ask yourself in the print media, which headlines are actually talking to issues? It's either this politician or that politician, this politician or that politician, and rarely about the content, but about the altercation that they were mudslinging each other. Always
About the content from the politicians or about the content from...
By the way, I don't think the fourth estate should get away from this one.
So
Because if I'm a politician and I'm only shouting, surely isn't there also a cut-off point where the media will say, look, this guy has no content. He's all about ranting. So we have no business really covering him on this particular issue, so that you can also seek out the issues. I'm not. You see, when we see people running away from, let's take this hustler
Dynasty narrative.
debate and the narrative. Frankly speaking, if I were to ask you what is the issue here, other than trying to create a platform of a divisive political arena. You know, when our forefathers came into play, they said that at independence that the target is to fight ugonjwa, ujinga, na umaskini. That was the philosophy.
Yep.
All right? Ignorance, disease, and poverty.
Yep.
We should be fighting poverty.
We are still fighting all three.
We should not, true, but we should not try to start glorifying some aspects. There was this famous politician who passed on, but you all knew him, Martin Shikuku.
Yep.
He called himself the watchman of...
The People's Watchman.
The People's Watchman, or basically the watchman for the poor. And on one occasion, I remember, I asked this question. So would you like to see, this was a question I was asking, would you like to see a situation where there's permanent poverty in our society so that you do not lose your job?
Your relevance.
Or your relevance. You know? So we have to ask ourselves, shouldn't we be working towards fighting these things? And to me, issues are important. And I'll tell you this. And
Is it possible that is actually an issue?
What? Fighting poverty?
No. The narrative, the narrative of hustler versus dynasty, is it possible that it actually is an issue?
Or is it possible
If it was not an issue, would it be resonating with the people?
Is it possible that it's based on a reality, or is it just a perception?
Do you realize that the people who are trying to brand themselves in one corner or the other are the farthest from what they purport to be rescuing?
Yes, hence the reality versus the perception.
So I mean, let's look at it differently. I think we are not addressing the issues that ought to affect us.
And I want to ask, I want to ask again, separating the personalities, separating those that have been pushed into the dynasty's corner and those that have been pushed into the hustler's corner. Is there an issue here that is actually resonating with the people about the haves, the have-nots? J.M. Kariuki spoke about this. You saying Martin Shikuku is talking about this. Is it the same? Is it not an issue really that if you were to talk about it, if you just remove the personalities and talk about there's a class that does not have and there's a class that seems to have and seems to keep getting, is that not an issue?
It is an issue. And to address that issue is that we talk about it, but not to try and brand others that you are this and that. Look, when I talk about, say, the debt-related issue, frankly speaking, when have we seen the debt of this country jump in leaps and bounds?
In the last 7 years.
In the last 7 years, we've actually seen it doing a
seen it
tumble
doing
turn.
some miraculous tumbles,
It's even flown a little bit. At one moment, we thought it was a bird. Now we realize it's an amphibian. It keeps changing.
So who are the guys who have been at the helm when this debt is growing at this rate? What policies were they putting in place? So you fix us with massive debt, you load it onto us, and you come and tell guys, hey, we are the ones who are going to get you out of it. Come on.
So where is the voice then of the alternative voice?
Here it is.
Where is it that we see constantly?
This is the voice that speaks.
Because here it is. The last time you were here, you talked about the same thing, the issue of debt, and saying how you'd, run a government that's really focused on prudential financial management. But that voice is once in a while. You have opportunities. You have, I keep saying, you've got social media platforms. When we see Musalia Mudavadi, we see Musalia Mudavadi at the Musalia Mudavadi Center doing elbows with other leaders. We don't hear what you're talking about. Why is it that we...
Is it
that we don't give you the platform, or is it that you're not speaking about this constantly as you should?
I am speaking about them constantly. Constantly. It depends on whether you choose not to see it.
So are you saying that
today I'll be a little bit at war with...
Go ahead.
I'll be...
We were rather waiting, hoping you'd put on that hat. Yes.
I'll be a little bit at war with the Fourth Estate, frankly speaking.
I want to ask you, for example...
No, frankly speaking, yes. I met some very serious people. And they said that, do you know, it's quite obvious that in this country, headlines are procured. I'll not name the person or the people, but they were very serious people. Muga here speaks to...
It was the first time you're hearing this.
No. It has been there, but you see it's becoming louder. So Muga here speaks to it. He speaks maybe about education, or he'll speak about health or agriculture. Nobody wants to listen to him. Or he makes a very good point. It's hidden. He's put somewhere in the middle pages, somewhere there.
Some bottom column.
Or somewhere near the obituaries.
And then near the obituaries. And then I speak to the same thing, and I get a headline, and I've simply repeated exactly what Muga said.
Yep.
So
I'm waiting for the push here. I mean,
so the issues here is that we have to look at it collectively as a nation. All institutions, politicians, the Fourth Estate, and the Fourth Estate is very critical because that is really the medium.
It's a medium, true,
of conveying these messages across the board. So I am appealing to their sense of conscience here that it is time that they shape the narrative of this country for the better. Because you cannot make a country believe that it is about Musalia, about Latif, and about Muga alone. And our good lady here.
About Ndu.
Yes, and she's
I think it's time for us to call out that all those positive ideas, constructive ideas that people have, and by the way, politicians don't have a monopoly of this.
But I'm hard-pressed, Musalia.
They should come out.
I must admit, I am hard-pressed to see a series of occasions where leaders that are currently sitting, and even those who aspire, over and over and over again, have been talking about issues. In the last 6 months, throw a stone and it will land on people mudslinging and talking about how they are better placed than the other and how they feel that they've been trodden on because of their tribe or their class or whatever. I am hard-pressed to just look at the debt issue that you talk about. How many times have we seen leaders who are looking for positions in the future come and harp on this issue over and over and over again? Look at education, where things seem to be up in the air now, for example. And it's a few people. Every now and then somebody gets bored and goes on Twitter as a leader and says something and condemns a move. But that's it. Nobody's having active live debate about these issues that are affecting Kenyans who people essentially want to lead. So if you ask me, you will on if you serve it up, that's what, if you present something, that's what's going to be served up. But you talk about the fact that somebody writes something about agriculture in the paper and nobody pays attention to it. And a leader then says something, somebody in a position of leadership says the same thing, but it's given the headline. What does that tell me? That leaders have a perfect platform to talk about some of these issues that are affecting Kenyans, but are not. They're more interested in personal politics and personal expediency in how they will be put out in the front light for Kenyans, not about the issues that affect Kenyans. That's what Kenyans see, and I'll tell you for free. That's what Kenyans see. Kenyans don't believe that their leaders are there for them. Kenyans believe that leaders are there for selfish gains. And unless somebody comes about to change that narrative, that's what Kenyans think. They're going to cheat you for a few minutes here when you go to a rally in Nyeri and tell you that they're very interested in what you have to say. But the truth of the matter is that Kenyans don't feel that leaders have their backs. How are you going to change that narrative?
The question is, who is this fellow we are waiting for to change this? Unless it's us, all of us.
Now.
It's all of us. I mean, why do you allow us to get away with murder, if I may put it that way? We all, you know, if it is an element of apportioning a bit of blame, yes, you can blame us, but at the same time, let us call out the issues. And as we debate, as we go on, by the way, your show is excellent because you bring out issues. But let me tell you frankly, your concern is equally my concern. That in Kenya, we are spending too much time not addressing issues. Even if you went to Parliament, for instance, and you go to Parliament, and maybe there's a very critical issue. The other day they were extending the debt ceiling to 9 trillion. As they do that, there's very little insistence, even from that very house, of a full disclosure of what the debts are. You are approving a ceiling, but you're not
putting any conditions
to see what is on the table.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example that one of our legislators, and I think I mentioned this some time back, he is very advanced in bringing in a bill that will demand all these things that I'm talking about. And that is the way we have been approaching things at ANC, that let us systematically start clawing back onto what are the issues that matter. You know?
Mheshimiwa, what is this thing that ANC does that makes it stand out? Because the thing that Kenyans are treated with is like a constant diet, it's words. We hear them, but when you have the same diet, sooner or later you'll get constipated. Okay? So you'll be worrying more about the state you're in rather than what you're eating. So I'm not talking about other political parties, I'm talking about the ANC, because that's the party you lead. The opportunity to do that which others simply talk about and never do.
Watch the space, because the bill is coming. The bill is advanced. And this is a bill that the party is taking very seriously. A bill that will speak to the management of public debt in this country.
Will it see the light of day once it gets to Parliament?
Let it get to Parliament. It is going through the motions very systematically. It has gone through the various
stages.
Committees and stages. Then it will come to the floor of the House.
That is one bill.
This is going to be a very significant contribution to the public management of finances in this country. And it should be embraced. And to me, these are the kind of things that I would say need to come to the fore.
Indeed. On that one, tick. Once it gets to the floor of the House, once we see the contents of the bill, and once we now interrogate it and see whether it really is going to help in the PFM of the country. Right. Sawa. Another thing that ANC has stood out for, has spoken very vocally about, and maybe even gone to push on the floor of the House.
My message to you is that our focus is on the economy. And a lot of the issues that we contribute to are those that are slated around management of the economy. And we can contribute to the extent that our legislators bring out very useful bills. This is the most significant, but we have also seen some of our senators make very pitched debate in matters of even revenue allocation.
Are you occupying a lonely place, a lonely spot, you as Musalia Mudavadi,
I was just about
in
to
this
say-
ideal?
I was just saying that let me talk about the revenue allocation. For instance, there's recent debate in the Senate. Yeah, one of
The recent lengthy debate. in the
yes,
Senate.
yes. One of and eventually some more rational approach was eventually found. And one of the senators who pitched highly on this matter was Senator Malala, who is an ANC member. So there are some things that we stand out, and this we always encourage that our members should seek to make a difference, a substantive difference, not pronouncements only, but even through actual legislation.
You spoke very strongly about the fourth estate. Now, if I'm to go back to what has been touted as the hustler narrative, yes, there is that narrative. Yes, there is a clear indication that the rules of the game as were previously understood seem to have changed. Because what you seem to want to espouse is, surely, shouldn't someone know limits? But we're seeing that the politics we're in at the moment, these limits are not there. So that age-old rule of politics about there's only one rule, there are no rules.
Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
It is a horrible thing.
Terrible. Thing.
That's the message.
It's a horrible thing.
So
It's a horrible thing.
Thank you for that answer. It is a horrible thing.
Yes.
So do we let it pass because it's a horrible thing, or should we start?
No, you do not. But the fight that if I read the fight that people have, it's not a fight about the issues. It's about the person. So we are back to square one.
Back to personality-based politics. That's
Because,
where we are.
yes, when the narrative is heard from that particular group of politicians, what they're saying resonates with some people in the country. It certainly does. Because when you talk about poverty, there is no country in the world which doesn't have poor people. But the thing about our country, the number of poor people seems to be growing by the day. Now, COVID has done something that was unthinkable before. Those numbers have really, really grown exponentially. So, it's a situation that requires addressing. Now, in the absence of something that shows you a clear path of how you can move out from this poverty, that narrative will hold sway. And people will look at those they need to blame for the poverty and the problems that they are in. So that narrative certainly will hold sway. Now, how can it be fought? How can they be pushed back on that narrative by those who feel this narrative is divisive and it is wrong?
My message very clearly is that we are in a fix because a government's policies went south.
They have
Yeah.
policies, really.
That's a different question altogether. But their approach to issues has taken us south. You know, and just for me to try and break down this thing a little more, I keep on bringing it back. We are in serious debt right now. All the companies that have shed off their staff are reeling backwards in heavy debt. Those who had plans of expansion are seriously hesitating or have completely abandoned them. And if anybody has an extra cent, all they're doing is buying bonds at 8%, 11%. Because why should I sweat and struggle when you can give me that 8%? So that means actual credit to people who want to do business is becoming a challenge. Now, when you have high debt, the shortest place, the shortcut for any government is to always to go for those areas where they get a quick buck. Petroleum products. So the tax instantly hits your petroleum products. It cuts all through. Because they're looking for the
Quick
place
money.
the quick money. I mean, so unless we unlock this, we're in trouble. Yatani gave his budget on the assumption that the exchange rate was going to be around 104 for the dollar.
Yeah.
It's what, 108?
Yes. Has been there for some time.
So between the time he gave his budget and now, our external debt maybe has shot up by maybe 200 billion or something.
Because our debt is pegged to the dollar.
Do you have these? I'm very curious to know whether you have these conversations. I mean, even as leaders, do you have these conversations amongst yourselves?
I do.
Or when you sit and, I mean, it's just, bumping into someone in a restaurant and having a coffee and talking about, did you see what that was last weekend? Or are you having these pertinent discussions amongst yourselves as leaders, as affects Kenyans?
I do. Whenever I meet other leaders, I address these issues, even at the COVID conference. That was there. I had to remind the Minister for Treasury that surely you cannot tell us that all is well on matters debt. You are sitting here speaking to Kenyans and telling us that all is well. I told him, no, it's not on. I mean, the president himself is already making remarks that the appeal is being made to the United Nations and others for them to start looking at reprieve on debt to countries that I imagine.
Mheshimiwa, you've been Minister for Finance.
Yeah.
Okay. In your time, if you can recall, were we borrowing, whatever borrowing we did, was it based on the shilling or was it based on some foreign currency? Because this is an option that we have. And I think you know why I'm asking the question.
You always borrow. If the resources are coming from an external source, it has to be in hard currency. So you're either borrowing in euros, you're borrowing in dollars, or pound sterling.
Are there people who borrow in their own currency? Are there countries that borrow in their own currency?
The only time the government borrows in its own currency is when it's buying the bonds from you and I. In the local market, that is where you put in your money at 8%, so that they pay you that. But all external payments must be done in hard currencies.
So how do you ensure that you have this safeguard, even if you're going to borrow in that foreign currency? How do you ensure or at least limit the possibility of this sort of wild exposure that we now currently find ourselves in?
There are basically two fronts. You either go for concessionary money or you go for commercial money. I think the mix that we have seen is that the government of the day chose to really rush for commercial borrowing and not concessionary borrowing. Concessionary borrowing, your interest rate would be 1% or even 2%, and you repay over 30 years.
Yeah.
30 years. These guys have gone into the market. They've taken money, 7% interest rate, repayable in 15 years.
Very expensive. Every time we have this conversation here with you, Musalia, you bring out these issues and you articulate them so well. My concern is I don't hear the Musalia voice on debt, on the economy, as often as I should be hearing it. And I'm saying this, yes, so you have issues with the fourth estate just covering up the issue of dynasty versus hustler and not getting the Musalia conversation happening. Have you written an opinion piece and sent it to the Standard and they said, no, we don't put Musalia opinion pieces? Have you written on social media and written articles on every day just tweeting about the debt and trying to explain to the people what this impact is, and then you see people saying, the comments saying, Musalia, what you're telling us is nonsense, we don't want to hear this? Have you done those?
I'll be very aggressive. I've been aggressive and I'll be more aggressive on it. I'll continue talking about it. I can assure you, Latif, that I have been making these points.
Make them a little louder.
And I will not tire. I'll continue making them. But I thought that I should highlight that I think this is a partnership of all the good people across the country. And when I say all the good people, I mean people who want to see genuine resolution of the crisis that we are in. By the way, the other day I was just joking and saying that, do you know, for quite a while, the only business that has been thriving is the auctioneer's business. No?
They have, haven't they?
Very real to a number of Kenyans.
But because they're living distress on rent, they're doing what? Sure. They've taken everybody's cars. But one other thing, though, can you imagine that now even the auctioneers themselves are under pressure?
Yes.
Because
There's no one to buy.
There's no one to buy. And they also have to pay for go-down space. And now we're reaching a stage where the auctioneers themselves are about to be auctioned. so
The shoe's on the other foot. Eh?
Yeah.
It sounds funny, but it's actually a very dire situation.
It's a
Yes,
dire
it is.
situation. But the message I'm trying to put across is that, frankly speaking, it is the economy. All these other side shows. When you have a country a nation, a small economy like ours, losing 2 million jobs within a very short time frame, when we see KRA unable to meet their targets every other time, this should start speaking volumes that the issues to be handled revolve around the economy. You know, and this begins feeding into other organs of government. The judiciary starts saying we don't have enough money to implement our programs.
Yes.
We have the governors saying that we now want to close shop because
We don't have money.
we have no money. Not money has been transmitted to them. People have not been paid salaries for 3 months and so forth. Gentlemen, this is
And
boiling down. And lady, sorry.
Patriarchy,
This is boiling down to the economy. And frankly speaking, if we are talking the politics of this country, and we are moving as if we don't realize that the economy is the biggest issue on the table, then I don't know what we are talking about.
Which
Indeed.
you have a front
Time for
row
us to
seat.
conclude the conversation at 5 minutes to 8 o'clock.
Yes.
We are live on KTN Home on Spice FM, broadcasting in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Eldoret, Nyeri, Malindi. We're also online on www.spicefm.co.ke and on our social media handles, Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We've been having a conversation with the leader of the Amani National Congress, Musalia Mudavadi, who would like your vote to become President of the Republic of Kenya come 2022. And he's been discussing with us the issue-based politics and saying, let's steer clear of the personality politics and let's look at the main issues. And for him, the main issue is the economy. And that's what he's told us. Thank you very much for joining us today. And of course, we always appreciate when you're able to spare a moment for us. This is a platform that you can use, and then you can now point fingers at the other members of the fourth estate. Keep it right here. The conversation continues. Good morning.
All right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 87.9 Spice FM, Mombasa.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Remind you about this event that's taking place on the 9th of October, and this is the live simulcast Lead to Live by the popular author John Maxwell. The Standard Group PLC and Value Connect, in partnership with Absa Bank, are bringing you the live simulcast event on Lead to Live by the popular author. Take advantage of this special offer and purchase your ticket today for only 19,900. You get a premium package that comes with a virtual link to the Live to Lead Leader Pass platform on October 9th, plus immediate access to 21 lessons from the Lead to Lead 2019 speakers. You have 72 hours on demand replay access after live simulcast event on October the 9th. So after the event is over, you'll be able to access this content for an extra 72 hours. You'll have access to the local speakers panel conversation on the virtual link. You'll get a certificate of attendance. You'll have an autographed book by John Maxwell, and this is the latest that he released in February this year, The Leader's Greatest Return. You'll have a printed event book resource material, private networking community, bonus, John Maxwell Leadership Game Session Workshop. All this, just buy your ticket 19,900 by calling 0719 012 520. That's 0719 012 520 or 0799 748 069. hurry before all the tickets are bought. So, just a final comment on the Musalia Mudavadi interview. Ndu.
I think, it would be great to hear how we would want Kenyans to keep him accountable, because anything having to do with money in the recent past has shown that leadership has not been accountable to Kenyans in terms of how that has run. But it's very clear that even if you have the slightest idea and it's a great one, it has to be heard.
Indeed.
It has to reverberate throughout the entire country.
Keep it right here. In the next hour, we're going to have a conversation with the Senator for Kericho County, Aaron Cheriot. Good morning. It's now 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, so what's going on the roads this morning? Getting into the CBD via Jogo Road at the City Stadium roundabout. A little bit slow this morning. Traffic coming in from industrial area, joining from Jogo Road at the roundabout, and then heading down then towards Landis Road. It's not so bad, guys, as you're trying to get into the CBD. So traffic today hasn't been too terrible. It's been behaving pretty well. We don't have too much in terms of incidents or accidents in any major places. Kiambu Road, we know, is still a mashup. Hopefully that will clear up in a while. Also looking at Mombasa Road, a little bit of traffic then heading out from the SGR all the way now through to Cabanas and then General Motors up ahead. Hopefully it'll open up as you get to the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Okay, 40127. That's how you can text us or tweet us on Spice FM KE.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muigai, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 2 minutes after 8. I have a straight in my mouth. Okay, I need a bit of sugar. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Of course, we are also online on www.spicefm.co.ke, and we are also live on KTN Home for the next 1 hour. We are still continuing the conversation about issue-based politics and personality politics and what's happening in the country. You know, it's like we've shifted gears into campaign mode. Well, we're already in the campaign mode, but it's just like we've shifted into a new gear in the campaigns for 2022. We've just heard from the presidential contender, Musalia Mudavadi, and what he says, we should, if only we could focus on this issue of the economy, the debt that the country has, how far we've gone in terms of borrowing, and whether this government just went off its own policy or it came up with a policy that was just off the rails. All those things, and the voice of the opposition, because Musalia is an opposition leader. The voice of the opposition in all this, while all these things were happening, now he's when the ANC is coming up with a bill to demand accountability and cut on the opacity of all these deals that we've signed.
How long does a bill take from the time it is actually brought into birthed, if I may say, going through the processes of the various committees?
Miezi?
What?
1 month. 1 month.
No. It's 6, boss.
Oh, 6 months. So, okay, not
3.
No. So it means the process began 6 months ago.
Well, the process is somewhere because it still hasn't gone to Parliament. So it still even hasn't been tabled
You see
for
why I'm asking is
first reading
because
at all.
the problem of our debt ceiling has been there long before COVID.
Yes. It has
Even
been with
before-
us since 2013. I mean,
Yes,
we've
it's
just
still
been
there.
borrowing and been borrowing, and we went into
We-
Eurobond
we-
1,
we saw
Eurobond
two.
2.
We saw the escalation.
Yeah.
We saw the escalation. So, arguably, one might say that perhaps there was a thinking that they would get to a point where they would actually stop. Clearly, they haven't. But clearly, there are new rules which have been brought into this game. And the rules that I see by politicians is that they are not going to obey any law. They will do what they want. And it's across board.
There's a game for politicians and there's life for the people.
Yes, now you decide.
You decide.
Yeah, but them, they're carrying on with their game. And damn your laws. This oath that they take to safeguard the rule of law, to say whatever it is, that one went out of the window a long time ago.
It's interesting because, as you see, that Ondieki Eric says, actually, politicians don't address problems that are facing Kenyans. They are greedy, opportunistic, and corrupt, and they're more interested for personal gain.
Greedy,
I would have-
opportunistic, and corrupt.
Yes. I know. 3 adjectives all in one. It would be interesting to know what loyal family are supposed to pay debts for our country, because Kenyans have debts to pay. What is the penetration of corrupt families in Kenya? They are the ones who are eating the majority of the cake that we see. We have very big land that belongs to a few people in this country. How can we be able to trust these leaders in the future? It's coming from a pained place, you know.
Completely.
And it's what people are feeling now. How are we supposed to listen to these people any time in the future if right now our present is not even guaranteed? Talk less of our future.
When you talk about all this, and we've raised this before, there's a role that our elected representatives in the two chambers of parliament are supposed to play. And this is the watchdog role. This is ensuring that the executive is playing the game by the rules and not playing its own games. And then we keep asking ourselves, so when the parliaments are passing these budgets, when the parliaments are approving an increase to the debt ceiling, when the parliaments are demanding questions of the executive and even holding inquiries, are they playing this role properly, or are they just playing the role just to check the box and get their money and even play some other nefarious games? Case in point, we had the issue of the MES investigation by the Senate committee, which went to the floor of the House and the senators rejected it. What exactly was happening there? So we have this turnaround that's ongoing, the KEMSA probe being conducted by the Senate and all the others. Are our Houses of Parliament really playing their role? Let's bring in one of the members of one of these two Houses of Parliament, and this is Kericho Senator Aaron Cheruiyot, who joins us on the line. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Eric and the team.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good to hear from you guys. Quite an interesting discussion you're having.
Asante sana. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you, thank you.
Would have loved to have you on video, but unfortunately some technical issues. But bear with us.
Yeah, I've been told, I've been informed.
Right. So you've heard what we've introduced, and this is, as we shall come into the politics of, are you Jubilee Asili, are you Tangatanga, whatever. Whatever you want to be called now. But before we do that, let's talk about the role of Parliament in checking the executive. Last week, the senators voted to reject a report that had taken months to prepare. And you were faulting the committee that was investigating the issue of the managed equipment scheme on the quality of the report that they produced. We have heard very many other complaints before of reports that are brought to Parliament. They just appear like whitewashing exercises and just slapping people on the wrist. Is Parliament playing its role? Do you feel like you are in that assembly and playing your role?
Good, Eric. Let me begin with that issue of last week, because I think that will give us a perspective of challenges that Parliament continue to face and all these issues that are being discussed. Actually, last week was quite an interesting one. You need to take time and read the report, Eric. It's a 359-page report. And many of us...
We have it here. We've looked at it more than once.
Fantastic. That's really impressive. I have no doubt about the quality of work you guys do at Situation Room. You're extremely thorough. So when you say you've read it, I know you've read it page for page. The problem that many of our colleagues had, and if you had us on the floor, is that there was an extreme disconnect between the report itself and the recommendations.
Yes.
The most important part of a report are the recommendations. That is, after exposing the rot and speaking out on all this committee began by labeling this whole project as a criminal enterprise, that it was shrouded in mystery, that it was executed purely for commercial and not for public good. And they went on to expose all the issues, how we went on to lease certain equipment at exorbitant prices, that county governors were forced. You do remember the hate and campaign around 2015 and 2016, where the whole discussion, Kenya, unfortunately, Eric, Kenya is, I don't know, I'm struggling to get the right word because I don't want to call it simplistic as that may appear derogatory of my country, but people are used to having a yes-no situation in almost every crisis that we face. Are you left or are you right? The discussion at that particular time in the country was governors have refused to sign on to this project because they are opposed either to how government procured and everything. But the discussion was reduced to governors are greedy and they want to deny the citizens the right to good health care. There was a protracted campaign. You remember that slur of Pesa Sia Mama Yako back in Narok between, I think it was Duale and Isaac Ruto. By the way, Isaac Ruto was the only governor out of the first lot of 47 that up to date did not sign on that project. So therefore, there was all that problem, the campaign, and eventually most of the governors signed on either by coercion, intimidation, all the forms of state terror was unleashed on them. Eventually, they sign on and the project rolls out. The saddest part is the escalation of cost on this project, where initially counties were supposed to pay about 37 million shillings per annum, but within a very short period, it moved on to about 200 million. And the fact that this report also exposes that counties are not even given the option to pay, this money is deducted at source. So people are happy and celebrated and say, brilliant work you've exposed. But then the saddest part is that the recommendations were so ambiguous, amorphous, and, they kept on repeating that we need to invite DCI to investigate, we need to invite EACC to this investigation, and therefore the question on the minds of many of our colleagues was that what is it, as things stand, that has stopped those agencies from doing that work for the last 3 or 4 years? And you must remember that I had brought an amendment because there are a number of companies that had been identified that they were involved in this scandal, and I was able to point out to the House that these companies are so powerful that they are the ones also, part of the owners of these companies are the ones that supplied those containers that continue to lie in Mariakan in Mombasa for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years. No DCI, no EACC investigation has ever been conducted on them because of how powerful and how well connected these business people are. So I came with an amendment to bar some of those companies from ever doing business. This is drawn from Section 63 of the Public Procurement Act of 2015 that we passed in Parliament. But it was flatly rejected by the Speaker, and they said either you're out of time or the same has been addressed in the report. It was a protracted debate. You must remember this debate went on for 2 days, on Thursday and Tuesday. So when Thursday my amendments were rejected, I felt that I will be giving a slap on the wrist of these mandarins that had executed this criminal enterprise if I pass the report as is. Therefore, I drew most of my colleagues to the provisions of Standing Order number 58. And this is where I also must insist that as a media house, you guys need to follow parliamentary procedures more keenly. many of our colleagues who spoke and said that while they were giving it a no, they wanted to exercise the power of Standing Order number 58. Standing Order number 58 provides that one matter, such as a report that was live on the floor of the House, has been rejected, by way of writing to the Speaker, you can seek his permission to grant you to bring an amended version of that report before the lapse of 6 months, or if the Speaker refuses, then you have to wait for 6 months. After the end of 6 months is when you can reintroduce that particular report. And therefore, a number of our colleagues who are not satisfied with the recommendations, we agreed to caucus later and find more stringent recommendations that are in tandem with the rot that was exposed by this report. There are public officials who refused, one, to either provide these documentations to the relevant agencies. We have even a PS who told a cabinet minister, you remember CS, he's now
Ambassador Mailu.
An ambassador, Ambassador Mailu. When he appeared before the committee, he said his PS, Murang'a, told him, these are state secrets, you'll never see them for so long as you're minister. And for the 3 years that he was Minister for Health, he never saw those documents, and that was his report. It is written there.
Yeah.
The report is silent on how you handle such a public official. You know, so when we saw the quality of recommendations, don't just conclude that the matter has ended at the point of rejection. A good number of us have committed before the Kenyan people that we must actually deal, one, with the public officials, and two, with the private
entities.
It's interesting that you say that, Senator, because I believe the day after this came out, we had this conversation in this room. It's interesting that you say these things, and we said we are of the opinion, I'm going to ask you that question directly now, we're of the opinion that we shouldn't just be accepting these reports that come about and somebody's had a good time sitting and looking, and then this is the best that they come up with, when billions in currency that could have been used to help Kenyans has essentially been lost or has been mismanaged or misappropriated. But now, looking at it from the side of citizens, how can you ensure that now those who are in the position of oversight at least carry it to the end? Now we can understand that this report has been rejected by yourselves. We know that. And now we're talking about periods of 6 months and beyond whereby you can't really do anything about it. It looks like now this one is dead in the water. Things like this, can they be revived? When we go into another process like this and say that we want to look into how public funds were used, for example, what kind of surety can you then give to Kenyans to say we are making sure that funds that have been used were either used in the right way, or those who mismanaged them will be brought to book? How can you do that with all the things that you've talked about now that seem to be standing in as bottlenecks?
First of all, there are two words that you need to add to your submission. Number one, the report is rejected as is, not in its entirety. I've told you 90% of the people, and I sat throughout Parliament for the 2 days that this report was debated, agreed with every finding. They only differed with the recommendations. Of course, there were one or two that kept on raising issues about specific business enterprises, that, this company has given this kind of explanation, this and that. But that's not the main objective of our focus. Secondly, is that Standing Order number 58 provides that you can actually bring it back to life even before the lapse of 6 months, but with approval of the Speaker.
Okay.
That is the route that we are first going to try. If it becomes untenable for whatever reason, because the House rules and procedure give the Speaker the authority to either make the final determination on whether to approve or not to approve, then we will have to wait for the 6 months. But the assurance that I can give to the country is that the truth will eventually come out. As Parliament, we have done an exceptional work in, first of all, exposing the rot. And as media, the part that maybe you may need to help us, every newspaper article that I have read, every discussion that I have listened to, is people are being minimalist. They are just focused on the report was rejected. But I have told you, this is a 396 page document. can you at least assist in disseminating the information to Kenyan people to understand, first of all, what happened in this project? Let us have an expose assisted with us, because as Parliament alone, we are not, because of the forces that you are up against, and you understand what kind of a country we are. As Parliament alone, without the pressure of citizens understanding what really happened, it's difficult for us to completely execute. So we've got to be partners in this exercise.
Sure, and we keep having this conversation, but also at the same time, we cannot run away from the fact that there was a committee that was set up. It went and gave, very detailed explanation of what they had unearthed, and then they fell short at the recommendation recommendation stage. And the questions will always arise. Why? Because it's not that this committee comprised of people who are inexperienced legislators. It has people who have
very
senior people who have sat for many years in Parliament, so they
council,
know.
It had a 4-term member of Parliament.
Exactly.
So
the questions will always keep asked, and that's why we started by asking this question, Aaron. Is it showing us that there's a way in which our parliamentarians are being compromised? When you look at that report, the only thing that you can think of is clearly it was meant to fail. It was designed to flop.
I have no sufficient evidence to cast aspersions on my colleagues, but logic points to that direction. Logic. If I was only to rely on logic, that why would the committee expose this kind of ill, but be extremely light and lose the fluidity that they have in the report once they get to the page on recommendations? Of course, I tend to agree with you, only that I cannot, the rules of decorum, I do not have the evidence to point out and say directly that either this committee was compromised or not. But speaking as an ordinary citizen, if I was to detach myself from these people being my colleagues, I will say exactly the words that you've said, that something is amiss. And therefore, that is what we need to rectify.
Okay.
Secondly,
there's also the other question that Ndu had asked earlier, which is, what should we as citizens do to ensure that when members of Parliament are sitting to investigate this, they will know that they'll be held to account? You can't just bring in a report and then the report is clearly so flawed that it gets rejected by a majority on the floor of the House, and you just walk back scot-free and you sit back and you just laugh at the outcome of this.
Actually,
is there anything more that can be done to ensure that we hold those members of those committees, such committees, accountable?
Yeah, we've got to put them to task. We've got to ask them these questions after you After you invite me on a day like this, you've got to look for these colleagues of ours who sat in this committee, Senator Moses Wetangula, Fatuma Dulo, the rest of the colleagues who sat. It will be good to understand from their perspective what is this that informed their decision on the recommendations. Why is it, for example, that they were not as clear on what happens to the public officials who executed this particular scheme? What happens to entities like General Electric, who have the largest, about 60 to 70% of the business in this project, but their appearance before this committee was shrouded in a lot of mystery. They were represented by people who did not have the power of attorney to appear before us. That even them being in the project in the first place was a misnomer, because the tender was very specific that this bid was only open to original equipment manufacturers. General Electric East African, their subsidiary here, is not an original equipment manufacturer. That's why Philips East Africa couldn't participate, and it took their mother company back in Netherlands to bid for this and have the local subsidiary execute the project. There are so many issues that actually they exposed, but in the final scheme of things, the recommendation was flat, and that's why, just to answer your question, it will be important to get the view of these colleagues of ours who sat in this committee, why that discussion was made. But because we've got to be frontal in our thinking and imagine which way now, what happens to such a spectacular report, at least to the point of exposure, is, I have told you, a good number of us are seated and discussing how we craft better recommendations for all those ills that have been executed, so that you have a page for the public officials and what happens to each of them, and a page for the companies, the private entities that were involved in this business. Because our laws, by the way, Section 63 of Public Procurement Act allows us, and even as Parliament, we have that leeway to bar those entities from doing business ever in the Republic if they're involved in such kind of dealings. So all is not lost, Eric. That, in short, that is what I mean. That we have a good report that is still within the pressings of Parliament. The fact that it has been rejected as is does not mean that the report has. That's the end of that report. Taxpayers can still sit and know that in the next few months, perhaps, justice will be found.
Thank you. Let's take a break now. Aaron Cheruiyot is a senator for Kericho County. He's joining us on the line this morning. We are talking about the performance of Parliament, just looking at the rejection of that MES report and why, and he's explained to us why he championed the rejection of that report. We also ought to talk about the politics of the country, and that's what we'll also be discussing in the coming minutes. 25 minutes after 8, this is a Situation Room, broadcasting on Spice FM, on KTN Home, online, www.spicefm.co.ke, and Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, and Twitter. Time for us to take a break, take a look at the weather and transport, and traffic. Even transport, right? Yeah, and then continue this conversation. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM, Nyeri.
All right, temperatures rising in Nairobi, 19 degrees and mostly sunny at the moment. Highs of 28 today. It's going to be a warm day in the capital. And mostly sunny in Nyeri at 18 degrees, highs of 26 and lows of 13. Nakuru is partly cloudy at 17 degrees. Go to highs of 24 and lows of 12 today, and a chance of rain later on during the day. Eldoret will also have wet conditions later with highs of 22 and lows of 12. Currently mostly sunny conditions at 16. Kisumu is experiencing partly cloudy conditions now, beckoning the rain that will come later with highs of 29 and lows of 19. Thunderstorms are in the forecast for Kakamega. 26 the high and lows of 15. Cloudy conditions at the moment at 19 degrees. 27 degrees and partly cloudy in Mombasa. Highs of 30 and lows of 24 today, and likely to experience some rain showers later. Malindi is partly cloudy at 27 degrees, highs of 29 and lows of 26. It's partly cloudy in Kampala. Highs of 26 and lows of 18, and yes, the rains will beckon later. And mostly cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 26 degrees, highs of 32 and lows of 23. Johannesburg now is foggy at 13. It's welcoming the rains, highs of 20 and lows of 11. And finally, for now in Lagos, thunderstorms continue at 29 degrees, going to a high of 30 and lows of 23.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right. Okay, let's look at Thika Road. Coming into the CBD, not so bad, right? At the Pangani underpass, there's going to be a little bit of a hold-up, but should not be too bad getting into the city centre. All right, Westlands coming out. There was an accident at the Kangami Bridge this morning. That's affecting traffic that's going inbound to the city via Wayaki Way. Now things have changed a little bit. Avoid Jogo Road right now if you can. If you don't have to be on Jogo Road, don't, because it's bumper-to-bumper traffic all the way from Hamza, and it's leading then towards the City Stadium roundabout, and that has become a clog up, a mashup. It's still raining traffic on Mombasa Road, guys, and jam-packed bumper to bumper on Mombasa Road. Again, if you don't have to be on Mombasa Road right now, it probably isn't the best idea to do so. It's going to take some time to get out of that. It's going to take you all the way to General Motors in that slow-moving action, and then past Capital Center, and then even onto Nyayo Stadium, the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, and then well into the CBD. Spice FM KE, or text us 40127.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
Coming up to
Spice
8:30, this
FM.
is the Situation Room. The conversation continues right here on Spice FM, on KTN Home, online. Joining us on the line is Kericho Senator Aaron Cheruiyot. In the room this morning is Eric Latif, Nduoko, and C.T. Muga. Senator, let's now switch gears a little bit and talk about the current political scenario in the country and the situation in the country. Starting with what we saw last week at Jubilee headquarters. So the deputy party leader of Jubilee, in which you're a member, have visited Jubilee headquarters. And then a couple of days later, we see the Secretary General of Jubilee going and saying that and coming out to announce after a meeting that the management committee of the party has decided to recommend the removal of William Ruto from being the deputy party leader. You are one of the people and the leaders who are vocal and visible on the side of the deputy president. What do you take of this?
Eric, it's quite something that actually I've seen people try to put context to the situation. And they've said this is akin to the caretaker asking the landlord to exit the house he lives in. You know, you find those situations where in many of our settlements where the landlord takes the corner house and has tenants in the rest of the houses in the compound. And you wake up one morning and you find that the caretaker he appointed wakes up one morning and saying, I'm evicting you from this house. I don't know how you will describe the absurdity of such a scenario. But that is the Raphael Tujus and the Murades of this world for you. Deputy President William Ruto is not only the deputy party leader of Jubilee, but is among the officials that were appointed by I think there are actually only two of them. It's only him and the president that were appointed by the National Delegates Convention. The most, according to Section 7 of the Jubilee Constitution, that is the topmost decision-making organ. The two of them were granted the positions to lead the party, one as party leader and the other as deputy party leader. Then they were given on interim basis the permission to go and select interim officials in consultations. And they sat down and drew up the list, and they came with the list of officials, the party chairman, the Tujus of this world, Murades, Kositans, all those people that are listed as officials of the party. So if we have reached a point where we feel that it is no longer tenable to have him, there is nothing impossible in a political party. I mean, it is not a marriage cast in stone. They should invite the members of the National Delegates Convention, the same ones that sat in Kasarani and granted the chance to lead to President Uhuru and his deputy to lead the party, and present the charges. The only assurance that I have, Eric, is that the accusers will leave that room as the accused, because they're the only ones who are not living in the spirit and letter of what the Jubilee Party was founded upon. They are doing things that are contrary to the decisions of our members. Our members understand. By the way, Eric, we have always explained for those of us who are in this wing of Deputy President that winning government was a bonus for Jubilee. At the most basic level, the original idea of Jubilee was, one, to end tribal politics, and two, to stop this animosity that was being experienced in the country, where people were being elected based on tribe and those kind of affiliations other than what they offer in their leadership capacity. That's why in 2017, this is the only party that has elected officials in 44 out of 47 counties. It's only in 3 counties in Kenya that Jubilee doesn't have an elected official. A party of that magnitude cannot be reduced to the whims and games of Tujus and Murades of this world. They do not understand the journey that this political party has traveled, and therefore this issue is too serious to be left to their little experiences at Pangani House. The party is not the headquarters. The party is the people. And that's what they need to know. Therefore, which is the way forward, I think the party leader has only one option. If he strongly feels that he's pulling in a different direction with his deputy, then it is to invite the same National Delegates Convention that appointed him and his deputy to work together and read what he accuses his deputy of having done before that delegation and leave it to them to make a decision. Otherwise, sending Tuju and Murathe to say those kind of things will not help solve the problems that are in Jubilee.
What do you think the reason could be, Aaron, for the proposed expulsion? What, from where you sit, what do you think would be the reasons as to why this was being done?
It's politics of expediency.
On whose
politics
part?
that has not... Sorry?
On whose part? Politics of expediency on whose part?
On the team that works with the president, including the president himself, because I want to believe by the time Tuju and Murathe go to read that statement, it is with his approval. Let us not fool each other, that Tuju and Murathe can just wake up and go and say we want... It has to be with the express approval of the party leader. I wonder why he would grant such a communication. Maybe the best person to ask will be the president himself, who's the party leader. If you get a chance in any of the media interviews that he grants, it will be good for him to explain to Jubilee supporters why he feels that it is in tandem with the vision and the ideals of the party for him to expel his deputy. Of course, it's not even possible in the first place because the process is quite a long and a tedious one, and it involves that decision can only be made by Jubilee party members, not those interim officials, not even the party leader himself.
Something that you mentioned, Mheshimiwa, with regards to the two, should I say, pillars of the Jubilee manifesto to end tribalism and corruption. Did I get it right?
Exactly. No, corruption. Those are, that is in the vision of the government, what the government will achieve. But for us as a political party, it was to end animosity amongst communities, and two, to stop the politics of tribe, because there are people who have made it a culture that for you to be elected in any part of this country, you must have come from a particular tribe and, the dominant tribe of that particular region. We were against that. That's why in our last National Delegates Conference, we gave a huge profile to members of the Jubilee Party who had been granted the party ticket but are not originally from the dominant tribe of the regions they were seeking to represent. You remember the late Omondi, the MCA for Kahawa Wendani in Kiambu. He's Luo, but had been granted the ticket. Then we had people like Mishra, who's of Indian origin, but now a Kenyan and was seeking to represent the people of Keses, and so on and so forth. Therefore, those were the two main pillars that Jubilee was founded upon. Winning government and doing all these other things actually was a bonus.
There seems to be, I find there's a little confusion in my mind. Jubilee Party on the one hand and government on the other, because this is a Jubilee government. So at what point do we stop thinking as the government being Jubilee and the party, and where do we begin and divorce it and just determine the party as a separate organ from the government when indeed it is a Jubilee government?
Institutions, my friend. And that's the battle that Kenya continues to have. You need to distinguish Jubilee as a political party and the government as currently constituted, which is made up of leaders from the Jubilee party. Those are two different entities. Of course, it's the same people, but the work they do is different. That's why we have the Political Parties Act to govern how parties function and they run their vision, what they are founded on, and so on and so forth. And the constitution to guide on how you run a government. When you distinguish the two,
Yes.
that confusion disappears.
I actually agree with you in terms of the theory of it. What about the practice of it, really? Is there really any difference?
Yes, there is. Because that's why in countries that have established better democracies than ours, we should seek to grow our parties to a point where if the officials that the party has sponsored to government by way of being granted votes by its party members no longer live up to the aspirations of the party has a way of recalling them. You've seen this happen a lot in South Africa. You remember the issue of Thabo Mbeki. The same happened recently with President Jacob Zuma. That you get to a point where, as a political party, you are able to discipline, especially the most powerful within the party, which is, say, the party leader or his deputy or the members of parliament, governors, all that arrangement. But as it is right now, we are all intertwined into one. It all looks like one confused house, and that is not what we should aspire to as a republic.
Actually, to me, it's very clear. Then, when you explain it that way, I can see the difference. I can see the difference between the president and the deputy president, and I can also see the difference between the Jubilee Secretary General, the Jubilee Vice Chairman and Chairman, and the National Management Committee sitting down and recommending the removal of the deputy party leader. Those two then are very clearly different for me. And that's why then when I hear you saying that it's the Tujus and the Murathes, you're basically personalizing it. Instead of looking at it as institutions, it's the institution of Secretary General who's a spokesperson of the party. When he reads a statement, he's not reading a statement as Raphael Tuju, but as the Secretary General of your party.
That party no longer functions, Eric. That is Tuju who sits on his own. I can assure you there was no meeting. If you ask for the minutes of the meeting he purports that they had, first of all, the only organ of the party that has ever been constituted is the National Executive Committee, NEC. All these other NMC and the ones that Tuju keeps on referring to are creations of NEC. NEC has never sat down to constitute those bodies. And if you think I'm misleading you, ask Tuju to give you minutes of the meeting of NEC that approved the nomination of members into the National Government Council and National Management Committee. Ask him to present you before them. We have a case with him before the Register of Political Parties. You remember earlier on in the year when they had purported to want to change membership of the National Executive Committee. We took him before the Register of Political Parties, and the Register of Political Parties confirmed that indeed what he had done was in violation of Political Parties Act, that you need to consult, you need to sit down as NEC and nominate people. Therefore, the way Tuju and Murathe operate is that they run that political party like a kiosk, and that is the source of all our problems as a party. They need to respect the party constitution.
Doesn't that reflect the leadership of the party? That includes the deputy party leader.
Exactly.
So what we are saying is that the leadership of this party has basically failed, and that's why everything else is in shambles. The party leader, the deputy party leader are not running this party the way the membership of the party would have wished for that to happen.
I could not have put it any better. That is exactly the problem that Jubilee continues to fail, and that's why I keep on saying, because political parties are organs and instruments of governance in our country, Jubilee needs to be forced by registrar of political parties, and that's part of their mandate as registrar. They need to ensure that political parties run and operate in the spirit and letter of the law. They need to force Jubilee to call a national delegates convention, the same ones that sat and gave permission to the party leadership, and call them to order.
All right, so if there's a problem with the party leadership then, Aaron, if there's a problem with the leadership, then why are people within the party then taking sides? Shouldn't it be that then within the party, everybody should be united in voice saying there's a problem with the leadership, deal with the leadership? But what we've seen is a split And people within the party then are taking sides and saying, on this side is what we're asking for. If the problem really, truly, inherently is the leadership problem.
The joint heads.
Yes, the joint heads. There's a problem with the leadership, then there shouldn't be
what you've
splits.
described, Nduku, what you've described is the problem with Kenyan politics. Right or wrong is only determined by who does it. It's not determined by what is right or what is wrong. If I do something as Aaron Cheruiyot, the determination of whether it is right or wrong will only be based on those who support me vis-a-vis those who don't support me. We have turned our political parties into some cult-like organizations. That's why you have seen me in various media outlets reminding Tuju that Jubilee is a political party.
Why aren't you reminding the deputy party leader of the same? You see, this is where now Ndu is talking about.
Number one, I have tried to remind him, but how do you remind a man that cannot even be allowed to access the office?
No, you have access to him.
But you can talk to him, not the office. You can speak to him directly and say there's a problem with leadership here, as opposed to taking sides with other people. If there's a problem with the leadership, how about addressing him as an individual or your party leader? And this is a problem that needs to be dealt with.
We have raised these problems with him countless times. He said we have sat down with the party leader, agreed on what needs to be done, but out of the blues, whatever we've agreed disappears. You remember that earlier, before the outbreak of COVID, it had been reported that eventually Jubilee was going to have its parliamentary group meeting to iron out the differences that were emerging in the party. Then unfortunately, that week we lost the second president of the Republic, President Moi, and therefore that meeting was put on hold. Immediately after, it was our thinking that meeting will be put in place, and in fact, to the best of my recollection,
it's still on hold.
A new date was given. Sorry?
The meeting is still on hold?
Yeah, no, but immediately after the funeral of President Moi, that meeting was cancelled. There was no consultation between the two of them. When we asked him, he said, I do not know why they cancelled. I was never consulted. So even him, if he is not consulted, there is only so much that he can do.
All right. What is it that he can do? Now, I'm just looking at it from this point. You are the deputy leader of a political party. You draw your powers from the National Delegates Convention, right?
Convention,
So
yes.
you're not drawing your powers from the Secretary General or from the membership of the National Management Committee or NEC or members of the parliamentary group. Yours is directly from the delegates of the party. So does that not tell you that then you have enough mandate and power to demand answers and to push for the right things to happen? If you see that the deputy party leader feels that the party leader is not running the party properly and he's the deputy, why isn't he pushing for the better management of this same political party?
He continues to do that every time they have these discussions with his party leader. The only challenge is the unique situation that you were describing earlier, that these two gentlemen not only happen to be the party leader and deputy party leader, they also happen to be the president and his deputy. And therefore, it's not tenable for him to vent out in public against the president of the republic and say, hey, I need you to call you to order because of what you've done. I mean, you've got to wait until perhaps when you eventually get an opportunity before the delegates of the party to explain yourselves of all the efforts. You know, eventually, Eric, what will happen, because I can assure you that in one way or the other, these two gentlemen will one day have to give account of what they have done into either making this party great or demolishing it before the delegates of the party. I believe, and I strongly do so, that when that opportunity presents itself, each of the two of them will have to explain point by point, blow by blow, that this is what I did and this is what informed my decision. Then it will be up to the membership of Jubilee to determine between the two of them who has the interest of the party at heart, who misled the other, who is it that is responsible for the mess in which Jubilee as a political party finds itself in. Take the situation like what we are currently finding, where of late we are being told that as a political party, you cannot field candidates in by-elections in the spirit of something called handshake. What kind of, I'm struggling not to use certain superlatives, but what kind of a political party is that chickens out of contest? Yet the reason d'etat for any political party is to engage in elections such as those, so that you test your strength, so that you keep on listening to people and you grow the political party. But we are told decisions have been made. The deputy party leader is not in the picture. He just sees Tuju read out a statement. And it is proper. By the way, this should answer part of your question earlier, Eric. The fact that he stood at the Jubilee party headquarters and said, I was of a different opinion on this issue of Msambweni. But out of respect for the party and the party leader, I will abide by the decision of.
And then the following day, he stood and he was championing another different candidate for the same political by-election.
But why are you guys like this?
This is one of the accusations that was read out by the party secretary general.
Why are you guys like this?
Let me just read this. Let me just read this so that you can explain.
No. Not what Tuju read, but what even you guys at Situation Room, who are extremely thorough and brilliant people, read his tweet on that day. He said this gentleman visited me. He had shown interest in running the Jubilee on the Jubilee party ticket, but I informed him of the decision of the party, and that is where it ends.
Mheshimiwa, let me ask this question. I mean, doesn't the party have a mechanism for resolving this disagreement within Jubilee that seems to be growing by the day?
It has, but the party leader has chosen not to allow.
Is there nothing in that so-called mechanism that can actually discipline the party leader if he is errant and if he's gone against the dictates of the party?
Unfortunately, there is none, and that's why about a few weeks ago I tweeted that should it get to the point where some of us have to leave Jubilee, I will never again join a political party whose constitution doesn't provide an avenue for disciplining an errant party leader. I will never.
Are you likely to leave Jubilee?
By the way, let me inform you guys something.
Yes.
Uhuru and Ruto found me in Jubilee, for your information. Last parliament, there were only two of us who were elected on Jubilee party. I, yours truly, and Governor Waititu, then as MP for Kabete. Later on in the year, TNA and URP, alongside the rest of the 14 political parties, they folded and joined our party, Jubilee Alliance Party, and only requested of us that we change our name from Jubilee Alliance Party to Jubilee Party. Therefore, I am right to say Uhuru and Ruto found me in Jubilee, and chances are high that they will leave some of us there because we believe in the ideals of the party.
Okay. Do you feel that what's going on in the party now at this point, Senator, you've used several words to describe it, a mess, total confusion. Is it a reflection of what's happening in the country?
Exactly. It is. You saw what happened, the very unfortunate events of Murang'a on Sunday. And it's not just Murang'a. You saw the same in Kisumu. You have seen every weekend. And I need you guys on Situation Room to invite the gentleman called Hilary Mutyambai, the Inspector General of Police, and just take him through the provisions of Article 240 to 250 of our Constitution on independent office holders, such as the office of the Inspector General, because it is clear that when you go to Western Kenya, while Oparanya and Musalia and Eugene are allowed to do their meetings and meet people, every time Boni Halwale and the Washialis and Didymus Baraza of this world sit and want to hold a meeting, police tear gas them. When the deputy party leader wants to visit a certain region, have you guys read what the Standard, which is part of your media house, the very grave and shocking details it has given, that there is an order from above that came to the police to withdraw from that area so that these goons could reign and unleash terror on the citizens of Kenol in Murang'a. You know, you need to put the Inspector General to task. He needs to know that the politics he's playing is not good for this country. When police uniform loses the authority it carries, then that is recipe for anarchy and chaos in a republic. This gentleman, Hilary Mutyambai, doesn't seem to understand that in 2007, Eric, police were burnt inside a bus,
Yeah.
when it was considered that they were being taken to certain regions that were ODM strongholds to go and rig elections or be agents of the then PNU party. Police should never be involved in politics. It is their duty to provide security and ensure that meetings go on peacefully without interference. But what do we see happening in the country? When people in Kitui, who are considered to be allies of the deputy president, try to have meetings, police are sent to go and disrupt their meetings. Why are we allowing such people? I need to see the kind of interrogation and vigor that you're putting and questioning me about Jubilee Party.
Aaron, but I have to stop you there and
them.
ask you then, why are there leaders who are actually sponsoring this? Why are there leaders who are speaking to the members of police to do this? They
Why
didn't just
are
stand
they-
up and make these decisions on their own. They're being influenced somewhere, are they not?
Yes, from the office of the president. That's what the Standard has written this morning.
Are
and
you
I
saying
agree
that
with them. They are right.
the people who stabbed a 15-year-old boy were sent from the office of the president? Are you saying that the people who were burning tires on the road were sent from the office of the president? Really?
Read. Do you have a copy of the Standard with you?
Right here in
on the
front of
studio?
me,
Yes,
read the entire
we do.
story.
Can
It
you
does not
open
talk
page
about.
2?
It does not talk
Can you
about
open page 2?
the people being gathered by orders from above. It only alleges that police received orders from above. It doesn't talk about the people. It doesn't talk about the
And
people who
therefore,
were
if-
demonstrating or burning tires.
The minute you get police out of such an area and they have been aware that there are simmering tensions, then it means you are part of the plan to cause chaos, because once you exit police from a particular area, instead of urging them to be present and ensuring that no chaos reigns, it means you have been co-opted into the plan to rain chaos on citizens.
We want to conclude here,
It's common sense.
Senator. We want to conclude here, but I'd like you to end with a message and, if possible, a commitment from a political leader on the next steps of what should happen in terms of conducting of public meetings and gatherings across the country. What is it that you would commit to do? We do not want to see another 15, 13, 20, 55, 70-year-old person dying.
Any person lose their life. It's really unfortunate what has happened the last few days, but I put the blame squarely in the IG's office and the office of the president. That the president, who says he wants to unite the country, has members of his political party in none less other than Governor Mwangi, Senator, my colleague Irungu Kangata, and Sabina Chege, telling the rest of the country on national television that there are certain regions of this country that are not available for citizens from other parts of the country to visit. Yet they walk away scot-free. And instead of being called to order by Reverend Sami Kobia of NCIC, the gentleman issues a statement and writes a love letter claiming that, politicians, you need to take down on this rhetoric. Independent office holders like that of the chairpersons of NCIC, they need to exercise, they need to use the powers that they've been given by the various laws that are available in this country. They need to call such leaders to order and tell them, Kenya belongs to all of us. Each and every leader is allowed to do any meeting in any part of the country. I can assure you, Eric, if Raila Odinga today, whom I don't support politically but I hold in high regard and respect, was to have a meeting in Kericho, it will be my duty, though I do not agree and with his politics and may not join in for the meeting, to at least ensure that he receives a welcome that is befitting of his status as a national leader and has a peaceful meeting, addresses people and gives out his manifesto, whatever it is that he's coming to do in Kericho, and he lives peacefully. But we cannot allow leaders to give the kind of statements that were given by Governor Mwangi wa Iria, Sabina Chege, and Irungu Kangata,
Point
that
made.
they are going to be issuing visas
Point
in the
made.
21st century on who visits Murang'a.
Point made, Aaron Senator.
My
Thank you very
final-
much. I think
final
we've got to
point.
end there. We've got to end there because it's coming to the top of the hour and we have to say goodbye to our audience on KT and home. Aaron Cheruiyot, Senator, Kericho County, asante sana for speaking to us and we wish you a great day.
Thank you. Good day to everyone.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you very much for your time, Senator.
And thank you very much for watching us on KT and Home. Join us again tomorrow, 7 to 9. But this show continues every morning, every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. We'll be back.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM, Malindi. Spice up your life.
So as we come to the top of the hour, let's talk about this Live to Lead event.
Right, so Live to Lead is a simulcast event by popular author John Maxwell, taking place on the 9th of October. And so you get the chance to take advantage of a special offer and purchase your ticket today. 19,900 shillings will guarantee you the package, which allows you a virtual link to the platform and immediate access to 21 lessons from the Live to Lead 2019 speakers. You also have 72 hours of on-demand replay access after the simulcast event on the 9th. You also have access to the local speakers panel conversation and a certificate of attendance, as well as an autographed book by John Maxwell. The Leader's Greatest Return is the book that was released in February this year. And the printed event book resource material, as well as a private networking community, and the bonus of John Maxwell Leadership Game Session Workshop. So you can do this in an event by the Standard Group and Value Connect.
Indeed. Very good morning to you. It's now 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so there's madness. There's madness, guys. There's madness at Ngara for the last 15 minutes. The entrance to town is terrible. Avoid it if you can. And that's getting off the Thika Superhighway to the CBD via Ngara and then moving towards the Fig Tree Hotel there. There's a problem. It's a mess. There's also a mess on Mombasa Road. Still is very, very slowly as you try to move towards the direction of the CBD. So there are two messes that we see there. Mess on Mombasa Road, mess coming out of Thika Road, trying to all, get into the CBD. There's also a mess on Jogo Road. It would seem that we'll be out of traffic at this time, but it seems like it's the 9 o'clock mess, guys. So if you can avoid those areas, avoid. And if you're there already, we will say that you just have to be a little bit more patient before you get where you're going. We're going to see heightened levels of traffic continuing for the next couple of weeks. So this one we have to bear with. Spice FMKE, if you're stuck or you need CT to sing your song at least while you wait, let us know or send us a text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have Techra Muigai, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start
2.5 minutes after 9. This conversation continues, and remember, you can text us 40127 or call us 0719-012-600 throughout the show. Broadcasting even on social media, Spice FMKE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. You can also post your comments on Instagram. So, the announcement came yesterday. Push and pull, you've been asking, you've been complaining, then you ask again, and then you complain, and then you go, when are we going back to school? So are we losing a year? So what's going to happen? So now you've been told, all right, number one, no mass repetitions. All learners are going to move to the next class. Number two, 2020 class sits its final exams in March next year. And the 2020 class is the grade 4s, the standard 8s, and the Form 4s. Those who become candidates next year will sit the exam in December next year. Other classes are likely to report end of this month upon review of COVID-19 trend. Short Christmas, students to break for just 1 week in December. That's the 24th is when they close. And then they open on the?
4th,
on the 4th of January. So grade 4s, class 8s and Form 4s are reporting on Monday. And then the 2021 calendar will start in May. All your questions have been answered.
So what's the problem?
So
That's really what you're asking.
nataka nini ingine? Go to school. Monday cometh. That's it. Are you ready, Bwana Chairman?
For?
Receiving students, learners.
You know, you're asking me, it falls in the category of a trick question. Why I'm calling it a trick question is this. If it's a public school and the government has given directives, is there a clause for options?
Absolutely not.
Precisely. So,
I'm not asking you, are you going to do it? I'm asking you, are you ready?
There is no option. That the schools have to be ready. Now, it's up to you to determine how the school is going to be ready.
Mm-hmm.
But there is the other question of, will the parents allow their children to go to school?
Why would the parents not allow their children to go to school?
If the parents, two, really. This one, let me not give you a long story.
Parents.
2 reasons.
Or 2 reasons.
Yes, you have to start with 2. So it's entrenched in your mind. It's 2, not 3. 2.
Mm-hmm.
Money, health concerns.
Okay.
2 reasons. So now, it depends on how, for instance, the parents among themselves. Remember, one of the things that schools have done with time, they've given parents a platform from which, in this age of social media, to communicate among themselves. And parents create these things even among themselves. Depending on the conversations they have and what they agree on, the government directive will be one thing, the directive that the parents will follow will be another, for the 2 reasons that I have mentioned. Yes.
So money and COVID.
And yes.
The money reason would be, of course, every time the school's reopening, every parent knows that they have to cough up something.
They do.
School fees in one way or the other. And now you're also talking about, looking at uniform and the rest. COVID concerns are whether the schools would be a safe environment to send your Form 4 student or your Standard 8
Grade
child.
4 child.
Or your Grade 4 child. That's a COVID concern.
Yes.
All right. On the balance of probability, what's the likelihood of parents not sending their children back to school?
Well, since we're being speculative here, let me speculate by saying I don't know.
Well, if you look at what have been presented as realities by many parents, right? It's just, I mean, if it's just the fact that in terms of preparedness and what you had in terms of liquidity and how buoyant you were at that point to send your children to school, you don't have it. It doesn't exist. There's a pressure, there's a strain. Even when you had your cash flows as normal, there was already a strain and you started to get nervous when the school term was opening, right? Because there's so many things that you needed to do. Now here you are, and look, in people's minds, whether or not they wanted schools to open because they had candidates and they didn't want them to miss any school, they were already clear in their minds that they were going to go back to school in January. So whether you had put it off in terms of where this money was going to come from, or whether you had set hope aside that money would come in the next couple of months, you knew that you were going back to school in January. So now when you come and you're presented with this new directive, now that they must go to school in the next 5 days, I believe that of those 2, I believe that for a lot of parents, the more pertinent one is that they're not ready financially for the things that they must do. It's the money issue, and it is real. For things that you must do, everything that you must do to prepare your child to go back to school needs money. And they just don't have that right now.
I hear you. If we look at the candidates, so the 1 million plus in Standard 8, the close to 1 million in Form 4, many of them are going to public schools.
Yes.
How much money are they required to pay in public schools come Monday? Or let me actually flip the question. What financial needs does a school have to prepare by Monday to receive pupils and learners?
What do you mean financial needs?
So what is it? Do they need to buy? What do they need to buy by the end of the month? So
the
say
parents
when
or the school?
The school.
No, but the school,
does it need money by Monday? Does a public school need a child to come to school with money deposited into the account or cash in hand?
There was this debate. No, cash is very rarely given nowadays. You're given an account and you're shown how
Deposit
to.
there
Yes,
and come
and
with a
even there's a pay bill. Those are the things that cash is actually something that is not permitted.
All right. Does a school need money next week?
The school always needs money.
Public school.
Yes, they do need money.
For?
If you, for instance, all right, take the view that they have power. The power people are going to come calling. Take, for instance, if they have water, the water people are going to come calling. All right? If you have non-teaching staff who are paid by the board, if you want them, because they have a role and that's why they're employed, the school needs money to ensure that these people are there. You're talking about the watchmen, you're talking about people who do certain jobs within the school, people who are not paid by the government. Yes, the school does need money to ensure that these people are adequately compensated. Remember, there was a problem about their compensation. In many cases, this may not have been resolved.
Yeah.
Okay? So, the question you're actually asking me, does the school actually need money on a day-to-day basis to run? The answer is no, it doesn't. But the school does need fees to be paid in order for the things that I have mentioned.
All those things so that they can be sorted.
Fees has to be paid.
So if we say that schools are reopening next week, within the 15 days, at least the first 15 days of the month, they'll require parents to pay.
They do. And remember,
some form of fee.
You're asking,
what is it that the government then provides?
No, the government usually gives you money for infrastructure, all right, for development. The government gives you a subsidy for feeding the children. It gives you that sort of money. And then the government, of course, pays the teachers. Yes.
So the money that we talk about, free tuition in primary and secondary school, does that?
The government gives you, yes.
It's paying because paying teachers the government has always done.
Yeah, that it does.
So it's now for what is it that when the government says now we have expanded free education to secondary school and it's free tuition, what are they saying? What
They're
does
paying
it
the
mean?
teachers. They're paying the teachers.
They've always paid teachers.
Yes, but also
even before this Jubilee, even the Moi government paid teachers.
They do pay teachers, but the government also gives the school money. All right, as I said, specifically for feeding. I mentioned infrastructure. Infrastructure is putting
lunches.
up lunches. Yes.
Okay.
What I mean by infrastructure is money with which you can actually put up structures. If you need a lab, if you need a library, that sort of thing, it's given.
Okay.
And part of this money is also to take care of things like desks and the things that the school needs on a daily basis. Books, all that.
All right.
That's what the government does.
So chalks, books for teachers themselves.
Yes.
That is already sorted.
Yes.
So, but what the government does not cater for is what you're saying: power, water, non-teaching staff.
Yes.
And those ones are required.
Those are required.
And even the money for lunch is not 100%.
No. It's a contribution by the government.
So the other contribution must come from
the fees.
From the fees from the parents.
Yes.
So what you're saying is there's absolutely no way that you can just tell people, go back to school next week, we'll discuss fees next year. Because that's what I'm trying to establish whether it's possible to actually say, yes, many people are saying they are not able to. And even if I'm thinking beyond the urban areas, I'm thinking across the country. Is it possible for someone to just tell their children, you guys, school has been opened.
Monday,
go to school.
You can
and
say
they
that.
Learn.
You can. They will even go to school, but then how then do you maintain what was previously there? You see, the question here, you must understand that when you talk about the rural areas, please understand the symbiotic relationship that our people have with the rural areas.
Yeah.
Many people who live in the rural areas are subsidized by their kith and kin who are in the urban areas or in places where they have paid employment. Most rural areas in this country, people are subsistence farmers. So at best, what they can do is feed themselves, but they will not have liquid cash. Okay? And even where liquid cash could be gotten is in selling their wares. But the moment you have cash constraints, that comes to a halt. So the normal business that is normally had is interrupted. Problems with paying fees in the rural areas, it's always there. It's not as though it goes away. It's a question of how high it is, how low it is. It's always there. But now, guaranteed, it's going to be much worse. Guaranteed, it's going to be infinitely worse.
I think the perception that maybe you may be coming from, Eric, is that because it said it's free education, that people can just basically get up and go and attend class and there's nothing that they have to pay. But that's not the case. There's still, things that you have to pay. in order to keep your children in school.
Remember, the fees that is paid in our schools is determined by the ministry. All right? So there's no asking for a discount. Okay? It's what has been stated, it's what must be paid. If you're talking of bursaries, then you go to CDF. Okay? That's where this sort of like comes in.
Yeah.
Okay? But the truth of the matter is this. Even as we look at all these details, right now as we speak, there is very little money in circulation among people. And these are the people who are parents. Just juggling with what they have to do on a daily basis and school. It's tricky. Now, there's something else that many people may not understand. Many schools in the rural areas, or the students who go to these schools, many of them do not come from well-to-do families where you have more uniforms than you know what to do with. This uniform sometimes comprises that garment that you can wear on a special day. Not as uniform. If it's a blouse, it's clean. You can wear it on a special day. If it's a trouser. Now, if you've been out of school, you have grown. These are some of the clothes that you actually own and you have been wearing. So what you mentioned about talking about uniform now becomes a serious reality. Okay? Everything that we thought was normal is no longer so. So even the opening of schools with the direction the government has given, what is going to happen is something you need to wait to see, to understand.
Be prepared. And that's the thing. I think we actually need to look at the images that are going to unfold next week if this thing actually comes through, right? There's going to be quite some chaos. And that's just it. Because also we must understand, even if you want to look at the aspect of children now with their parents or whomever their guardians will be, transferring them to school. Those who are boarders, right? Who go to school in a different county. There's so many things that need to be taken into consideration. Cost of travel, cost of provisions, because those who are going to boarding schools, they don't just stand up and go like that. No. You have to send them along with provisions that they're going to use for the next term, right? All of those things must be taken into consideration. The preparations that you would have made ahead of time, if they were going back to school when things were normal, is not something that you're going to ask people to pack up and do in 5 days. Unfortunately, it's not. It's not.
So I can see the point. I'm just trying to look at it from the other side and seeing, is there any other possibility? But let's take a break and then continue the conversation. And we'd like you to join in this conversation for this hour. 0719-012-600. Are you prepared to send your children back to school come Monday? We're not talking about at now, January, or at next month or No, now we have a clear and definite date. Monday, grade 4, standard 8, form 4. Go back to school. Are you prepared to send your children back to school? 16 minutes after 9, let's take a look at weather and then take your calls.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. The weather with Spice FM.
So mostly sunny conditions in Nairobi this morning, and we're going to look at partly cloudy conditions later. Going to then highs of 28 today. It's going to be pretty warm and lows of 12. Let's look into Nyeri, where it's mostly sunny this morning at 20 degrees, highs of 26 and lows of 13. Nakuru is partly cloudy at 18 degrees, highs of 24 and lows of 12. And we see that there will be some rains later on. Eldoret will see highs of 22 today amidst the rain and lows of 12. Kisumu this morning morning is partly cloudy at 24 degrees, going to highs of 28 and lows of 19. And the rain will come in to cool things down considerably. It's partly cloudy in Kakamega at 21 degrees, highs of 25 and lows of 15, with thunderstorms expected for most parts of the afternoon. And then in Mombasa, it's 27 degrees and mostly cloudy, highs of 29 and lows of 24, with showers expected in the afternoon. Malindi, it's partly cloudy, highs of 29 and lows of 25. Step out of Kenya, looking to Kampala, where it's partly cloudy at 22 degrees, highs of 27 and lows of 18, with a chance of a shower or two later in the day. It's mostly cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 26 degrees, highs of 32 and lows of 22. And in Johannesburg, the fog is still quite low, mostly cloudy conditions at 14, highs of 20 and lows of 10. And the rains continue in Lagos today at 29 degrees, the high, and lows of 23. Getting well into Wednesday night in Beijing is 22 degrees, mostly sunny conditions still. The sun is still up even this evening in Beijing. And in London, clear skies at 9 degrees, sunny conditions all through with highs of 16 and lows of 9. And in Paris, it's mostly cloudy at 12 degrees. There'll be rain later with highs of 17 and lows of 11. And finally, in New York, it's clear and cloudy at the same time somehow. 17 degrees, highs of 26 and lows of 13.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So 20 minutes after 9, we're no longer dealing with hypothetical questions. Here we are dealing with reality. The reality is that schools will reopen on Monday for grade 4, for standard 8 and form 4 students. And we were just discussing this earlier. I mean, the preparation, what is it that will make a parent not send their child back to school on Monday? Financial or concerns about their safety in the school environment? Those two. And you're saying you think the higher probability is that the financial concern will be major.
Yes.
Because of what is required, what a parent is required to do in order to facilitate their child to go back to school. And even aside, actually, those that are going to boarding. So there's transport, and then there's what school is going to accept to admit students on boarding if they don't even have money to feed them.
City can confirm to us, right? Even for those who go and are boarding, there's a list of things that when you go back to school, they even check to make sure that you have.
What, Kinder Slash and those?
No, I don't know about those, but there's a list of things that you should have that you take care of yourself. Your toiletries and things like that, are they provided for by school?
No.
There you go.
You've got to do your own shopping.
You have to do your own shopping and you bring it to school, right? Because they're not going to give you the soap and toiletries and all the bucket and such to take care of yourself. Okay, let's assume that some of those things.
So you have to do that shopping.
Yeah.
And that basic shopping. We know the back to school shopping is a major
It's an industry on its own.
Oh, yes.
Right?
You have to go and buy all those things, like you're saying, the toiletries.
Usually the school will provide you the list of the things that you must come with.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's a list the school gives you to know that when you're coming back, you should have these things.
You must have tissue paper.
Right. Because they won't give you.
The thing is this, parents would really want their children to go back to school because they really do want their children, those who have children in examination classes, to sit for the exam and to move on with their lives. That they all desire. But we are caught not just between a rock and a hard place of the devil and the deep blue sea. This one, all your wishes and all your desires cannot be met. You are unable to meet them, despite any effort that you may want to make. So anything that the bulk of the parents are going to be facing here is the reality of their situation, because many parents do not have one child who's in an examination class. They have other children as well. So when you're talking about the reality of this going back to school, my friend, it therefore means that right now, the budget that the parents had for the family, right now that budget has to be re-engineered.
If it was there. Already it was depressed.
Yes, it has to be re-engineered because children have children, some have 2 or 3. That whole setup has to be re-engineered. How do you re-engineer it? What do you prioritize? What do you do without?
All of that you're thinking about, then within this short period of time. And just within this short period of time, people went into a tailspin yesterday, just from conversations. I mean, it's okay. Where exactly do you start from, and what on earth are we actually going to do? And you know what? A lot of people had made the decision from yesterday. It's okay. Rather than give myself high blood pressure at this point, let me just take a moment. And this Monday, or more, I won't be able to make it. That's just truth. That's just the truth. And it's not a matter of defying. It's not a matter. It's the truth and reality that you're being faced with. What am I supposed to do? The reality for very many people who lost their jobs, the reality for very many people who in their mind had said, okay, let me see what I can do between now and the end of the year. And then here you are now faced with this. And he said, they're going to go back to school. What are you going to do? You're going to miss out? Yes. That's another reality then you will face. It may mean that I will miss out. Or my children will, or in essence, my children will miss out.
My candidate student child will not be able to report to school.
Exactly.
When the others are reporting to school.
Yes, that's a reality that a lot of people are going to be faced with now. My candidate child, whether in class 8 or whether in form 4 or now making the transition at grade 4, will not be able to go. This one that we're talking about schools being prepared, because that's just another mess on its own, because it is a lie. Not all schools are ready for this. We even had, when we saw some of these things, even on the shows on KTN yesterday on TV, and what were people saying? I am a teacher, and I know for a fact, the school where I am teaching, again, yesterday, not 2 weeks ago, yesterday, I am a teacher, and I know when they're saying that all schools are ready, it is not true. They're not ready. That aside, let's look at the parents and their children. Then that's not their concern. I don't have the money. I'd rather miss out than give myself pressure.
So we want to take your calls this morning. Are you ready to send your candidate children back to school come Monday? 0719-012-600 or SMS 40127. Eric Odongo, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good. I thank God for the health.
Very good.
Eric and the team, I don't have a candidate for now, but my neighbor is having a candidate, and we are discussing with it the other night. He told me that, do you remember the day that the government closed the school?
Yep.
The infected people walikuwa, I think the same amount of yenye tulipata jana, which is 22. Nini imefanyika? We still have the same amount wenye walikuwa affected, but there's no vaccines. Now, we want to take our school we want to take our students to school. We discussed with my neighbor, kaniambia, he'd rather have a stupid kid in the house than having a depression and a high blood pressure. Hawezi hata ku afford meals in the house, and then the same time the government opt wanasema lazima watoto lazima wanafunzi waende school on Monday. And then they tell us that, you know what, ile month ingine mtapeleka watoto shuleni. At least unakuwa prepared, even if you don't have money, unakuwa prepared psychologically.
So this was too soon.
Wameambush wazazi tomorrow. Leteni watoto wenye shule.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, that's an ambush. Wametuambush. Another thing, I wanted to talk about Mudavadi. I had the conversation about Mudavadi. If you allow me,
please go ahead.
Mudavadi is very articulate in finance. Only in media. You understand? Only in media. But Mudavadi ajai later Larry Oru vile wanaendanga kama wana stop na gari na wanaongea na wananchi, ajai tuambia ile language ya mama mboga, hata nasikia venye anasema about the debt in the country, about how we can solve. It's only in the media and the papers.
So he's not able to speak when it comes to public rallies and such other meetings.
When it comes to public rally, he's not able to speak. Another thing, I also want to talk about the DP. He had the conversation about Chariot, the senator, very articulate. But DP should also behave like a DP. We need bills. Hizi vitu analalamika, lazima epi akona MPs, lazima uandike into bills or pass in the parliament, and then ikuwe law. Seti, unajua, the way the MPs are behaving like us, ordinary wananchi, wanalalamika venye Eric Odongo mimi naweza lalamika. But me, I need to gather the signatures, ngapi, ndio nifanye ikuwe bill. But then
he's in a position to influence change.
yeah, they can influence the bill.
Thank you.
Me kama mwananchi siwezi influence the bill. But
Thank you.
wao ndio wanalia hata kutushinda.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very
Let's
much.
hear from others. Good morning. Good morning, Geoffrey in Mombasa.
Good morning to you guys. How are you?
We're very well.
Thank you.
Well, I really love whatever you are putting in place for us. Okay, let me make my contribution.
Go ahead.
We have a problem in this country, and especially to those people who are put in position to take charge of our ministries. You can realize whatever Magoha has actually been announcing today, he says this, tomorrow he says the other one. Now he has made a dictation to parents that students have to go back to school. If I may ask, has he gone all over the country to check all schools, including the private schools, which are owned by individuals, their status, if they are really accommodative in especially this time of COVID? You can realize the message that was sent to Kenyans when the first incident was recorded in this country. How Kenyans were treated. Numbers are still coming in.
Yep.
And now he dictates students have to go back to school. Does he really care?
So you're opposed to the reopening of schools?
I am opposed because we haven't received a message from the Ministry of Health. Now it's safe for us to take our children back to school. And when he was releasing this statement, he was not with the Ministry of Health. He was not within them when they were making their daily address to the media. I was expecting him to release that statement where they were so that they will be in agreement. Because if something happens, now they'll start having conflict. Did you ask us? Did you consider making this statement before considering the situation around?
Thank you very much, Geoffrey. Point made. Asante sana. Vivian in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning. Hi, guys.
Good morning.
Hello, Vivian.
I honestly am not ready. One, because of the safety.
Yep.
And two, Monday is too short a notice to get the uniforms, everything that entails getting up my child to boarding school. I have a relative last week. The whole family is quarantined in hospital because of COVID. The husband collapsed in hospital and they're all put under quarantine.
Wow.
Now you're telling me that they're ready to take the kids back to school. Surely. I am scared for my child.
So
Number
for
two,
same
just
reason, so
putting
it's about finances and also you are not certain about the safety.
Exactly. I'm not confident with the government, Kabisa. I don't think they've gone round my child's schools in Kiambu. I don't think they've gone to that school to check. If
Would
it's
you
okay
keep your
for us
child
to
at
send
home?
again.
Would you keep your
Yes,
child at home in the
I would.
life
I already am. I've already arranged for tuition teachers. They come here every day. I have 3 teachers coming every day to take her through her classes. So I don't see, we can even do online classes. I don't see what the rush is for.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Vivian.
Personally, I am against it.
Thank you, Vivian. Asante sana for your contribution. Anthony in Kisumu, good morning.
Good morning, Eric and team.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've been doing a lot of social media. And yesterday when Magoha said that the class 4 will open and form 4, somebody jokingly commented that he didn't say to which school, so they are not opening. We closed when we were at 3. We are opening when we are at 39,000. We don't see the rationale unless the presidential address on 28th, the CS for Health and the health stakeholders and the education stakeholders met from 28th to date, and they decided that we open school. There's usually a thing called in change, called freeze and refreeze. Monday is too short a notice, and giving parents that ultimatum is more of a military. Like, I wonder which type of professor we have. I thought maybe that came from a military guy. They don't question orders, but on this, it's too short a notice, and we are not prepared.
Yeah.
I can't even confirm if the school my kid is going to. I have a kid in grade 4. Will be safe for him to come back home or something like that, because it's not a school in the local. People come from different counties to that school.
Okay.
some from Mombasa, some from Nairobi, and we were told in Mombasa, in Nakuru, there was an upside. I don't know what really informs him. If it's the exams, probably the parents cares more. That the parents should care more than the teachers. It's our responsibility to ensure that children go through the system of education. But being assisted or being compelled otherwise is like our responsibilities have been taken by the government, and we have nothing to say.
Yeah.
Like Nani says, like city says that you can't argue with government directives.
Thank
So
you very much,
just
Anthony.
comply.
Thank you, Anthony. Fred in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
And I have few remarks and contribution to make towards the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
First, I feel the preparedness by the government is very low. There has not been a report on the public domain on the inspections that they have been doing. No audit for the schools that are prepared to open. And even infrastructure-wise, there's still a lot that leaves to be decided. Secondly, the moment the schools open, there'll be a lot of traveling. And lately you have noticed people are not even observing the COVID-19 rules. The masks are off. The matatas, which are now carrying passengers as per the government directive, now they are back to normal. They're just carrying people normally. So we closed at, I think, 20. Now the figures are still or more than what we closed at. What has happened that has prompted the government to take this initiative? Last but not least, our closing was urgent. Like the government closed down everything. They were informed by whatever was happening in the countries in terms of the numbers and the precautions the government was taking. What has changed that now we have to open urgently as if the world is burning. I don't see the need of that urgency. There should be a need of preparedness in all levels, that is including all stakeholders, including the Ministry of Health, the parents, the Ministry of Education.
5 minutes to 10.
It's at this point that we're getting to look at Mombasa Road and seeing that it's much better now in terms of traffic. It was pretty crazy about half hour ago or so it's easing out as you're getting into the CBD. Uhuru Highway, however, heightened traffic all the way through to Westlands is moving bumper to bumper. Coming off of Thika Road, yes, Ngara's still a mess, guys. Still inching along and trying to get into the CBD. Hopefully that'll happen soon enough. So heightened levels a little bit later than we normally saw them today. The eastern and southern bypasses, however, are still looking pretty good. As you get into the CBD, using those, you should be all right. Okay, in case anything does pop up at you, let us know. Spice FMKE or text us 40127.
Spice FM, Nakuru. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
What does she say? She's emotive on this matter.
All right, she says, this topic of schools resuming gets me very emotive, and today I just want to know whether there are parents who have been consulted in this decision. Parents from all counties, those whose kids don't go to group of schools, kind of schools. So I mean, it's important. Maybe. She also says the GOK has decided to conduct a social experiment without the consent of those involved. What of siblings, where one is in class 6 and another one in class 4? So the young one goes to school as the older one stays at home. Think as a parent at home in this situation. And I spoke about this in the morning, interestingly enough. Some of the most important stakeholders, were they included in this? Were they participating? Shege Wandungu says, with what money? A big percentage of Kenyans are currently jobless or on half or less salary. And those are the lucky ones, from transport, which was hiked due to the pandemic, to books, to food. On this, Magoha and the government, we are being done a disservice. Not fair, not cool.
at all. 0719-012-600. We'd love to hear from you what you have to think about, what you have to say about this particular matter. Are you ready to send your grade 4, standard 8, form 4 child back to school come Monday? This is talking about doing the shopping. So first of all, even for the schools themselves, have the schools received the information? Did the school heads have prior knowledge that, we're going to be opening on Monday? So prepare. Talk to your suppliers. Let them start supplying the beans, the maize, the cabbages, the potatoes, so that come Monday, when students come, that evening you can feed those that are in boarding, and that lunchtime you can feed those that have come for.
So I spoke to a couple of school heads yesterday, apart from City. And two of them said, I said, okay, well, this announcement has been made. What are you going to do? She said, one of them said to me, she said, you know what? I said, but this is government and this with us. They said, that's well and good. However, we're having a discussion amongst ourselves because, truth be told, there are very many things that need to come into circulation in order for us to open school. You can't just say, and this is coming from schools who you would think want children to come back so that they can continue with their business, right? A private school, no less. And she said, there's so many things that go into schools opening, and we've been waiting. It's not possible for us to now just get up and go like that. There are very many things that we need to do, and we don't, even if they say Monday, we don't think we'll be able to do this on Monday.
Very many things have got to be in motion at the same time. Let's hear from Roderick. Good morning, Roderick.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Morning, Roderick.
Fine. How are you guys?
We are well.
Right. Well, thank you.
Now, the mother of all confusions. This government has not thought through on what has been happening for the last 6 months or 7 months or so. People have lost jobs. I know of households whereby the husband and the wife have lost jobs and children are in school. Now, you wake up one day, you tell us that kids should go to school. Surely. Has this government thought through about this? What is the backup plan for these people who are suffering, the households, people who have lost their jobs? Is there a plan? Because I say there's an estimated that probably over how many million people had lost their jobs? Was it around 1 million, 2 million?
Yep.
It's around 2, actually.
Yeah.
Around 2 million?
Yes.
And I assume half of them have children, like 2 or 3 kids in school. What is going to happen? Is it putting food on the table right now, upeleke mtoto hospitali, or lipa school fees? There is a lot of mess that is happening. And this government, this shows you how this government does not think about the people, but its own people. Things are not easy.
Okay. Asante, Roderick.
Yeah. Okay.
Oscar, good morning.
Hey, morning. How are you?
We're fine, thank you.
Very well, thank you, Oscar.
Dijo niaje.
Mazee fiti.
Sasa kumbe hivi wakati ule tukienda shule kulikuwa na mawaziri walikuwa wanafikiria. This guy called Magoha, son of Magoha, as if his father is the only one who gave birth to a son. Anaamka siku moja hii kesho ile. But now my biggest concern here is, yesterday I listened to a gentleman called Susion trumpeting this issue of children going back to school. I don't know what kind of fat they've given him to swallow that now he's changed his tone from being a pro people to being pro establishment. Now, to my point is, yesterday, and the program has been that they are going to prepare teachers for psychosocial,
with those tools,
the ability to help the children. When you come up one day and announce that the children are going to sit exams in March, I look at it as a point of stressing the children to a point of them even dropping out of school, because you can't set up a child for failure out of your lack of planning. These children have been out of school. Some of them live in so much of rural areas. They have not even been able to study well, because those same children are the ones being asked go to the farm, do this, do this. They have left books for almost 5 months. Then you tell them within a span of 5 months they are sitting for a national exam. The children are going to be taken through so much of stress. They will not either they will drop out of school,
Yeah.
or they will definitely not fit for that exam. So what are you going to achieve? Just a calendar that you did an exam? I think the government should think twice. And
Thank
now,
you, Oscar.
to our politicians, this is where the rubber meets the road. Sasa hii ndio tunataka kujua nani anatetea mahasla. Because mahasla is everybody who cannot pay school fees. It's not those ones out there. Everybody who's calling and is saying that they will not be able to pay school fees. They will not be able to buy toiletries and all that stuff for their children. Qualify to be a hustler. We want to hear the voices.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Oscar. Let's hear from Lydia in Nairobi. Good morning, Lydia.
Good morning, Spice FM. Thank you for your good debates. It helps us to discuss. Maybe the school has done this, it is okay, but parents now are contributing. That lady who said her children now are at home and she brings teachers to them, it is very good. Each one now is taking sensitive decisions of what they can afford, which is very good. You can't help it. If your pocket is empty, that is it. You're finding another solution. That's why, thank you, Spice FM. You're helping everyone to be united and to use their brains to think wisely.
Thank you, Lydia.
And also on politics, those counties who think it is their culture to do cattle rustling should never be leaders. Why should I rob your cattle and then be called clever? Why do I have to kill your shepherd boys and be called clever?
Yep.
That is very wrong.
Yep.
Only those who know how to be respectful and peaceful and not bring culture to be a leader, they should not be leaders.
Thank you, Lydia.
For your
Thank
good,
you, Lydia.
Discussion.
Have a good day. 0719-012-600 or 40127. That's the SMS number, 40127. Call in 0719-012-600. You can also post your comment on our social media handles, Spice FM KE, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram as well. Kennedy, good morning.
Good morning, Harry. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
How are you doing, Super Gandu and CT?
We're doing very well, thank you.
Fantastic. I'm so much actually giving thanks for your good discussion today. It is very important.
Yep.
Right. I think for me, I'm so much interested to actually let my sons get back to school because it is really, really crucial to my heart, honestly. But I think the government has exposed their serious weakness. It has been claimed on the rooftops because, truly speaking, we cannot centralize this blame on Magoha alone. I think it starts from the top because donors actually just gave us a lot of money and they were supposed to actually pump this money to our learning institution because now they really are aware of the WHO conditions which are for our children to actually not share desks, have enough water to wash their hands.
Yeah.
To this extent, there is nothing that has just been done to the school. So this blame game needs to start from the top. And, President Uhuru Kenyatta and the entire team, they don't need to be comfortable and let Magoha actually struggle with something that he cannot. Really, this is a contribution. So it is a failure from the top. And truly speaking, right this moment, I'm so much interested to let my sons go to school. But I think the preparedness is completely off the hook, right? So we are not ready right this moment. We are really, really not ready. So it's not a question of trying to push things to fix them up, to expect that a miracle is going to actually drop from some place. So we are not prepared. We are not prepared. According to even the WHO standard, we are not.
Thank you, Kennedy. Edwin on Thika Road. Are you in Thika Road? Edwin, how are you?
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
We're fine, thank you.
I'm going to take the first front. Now, I have a kid in Form 4, and my daughter has been asking me what is going to happen if we lose a whole year, and what is going to be the impact. Some of us are going to be very old by the time we are through with the high school. That is if the calendar sticks to January to November. and we lose a whole year. Actually, I agree with that. They need to go back to school.
Are you prepared financially, and are you prepared? Do you think that the school will be a safe environment for your Form 4 child?
No, I have to borrow.
You have to borrow.
Yes. Secondly, the government is saying us because my other children are asking, does it mean that it's only the candidates are going back to school? Why aren't we also being told when you're supposed to go back to school? Or are we going to be shocked in 3 days and told the other week, can you go?
Well,
that is a lack of clear planning.
Yeah.
The last point that is very important, a neighbor's kid told me that Uhuru said the schools will not reopen. Magoha says they are going to reopen. So now we can only wait for Uhuru. I'll go back to school when Uhuru says.
When Uhuru says.
I don't think, as he said, maybe today.
Just remind your daughter's child, your neighbor's child, that the president said, not ready to reopen, but the minister will announce.
Yeah.
So he actually delegated the announcement to the minister, so it's in order.
For some political weight, he also needs to come on board.
He needs to be the one to come and assure the country that schools are ready.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and thank you very much, and have a nice day.
You too, Edwin.
Thank you.
Asante sana for calling. Blackwater in Mombasa.
Morning, guys. How you guys doing?
We're fine, thank you.
I'm telling you, man, we're living in a country where the leadership is a mess. Here we have a situation where the president says, I've opened the country, but at 11 p.m., everybody must go home. It's a curfew, while 90% of the people are working during the day. Then here again, we have a minister waking up and saying kids need to go to school within a week. I mean, who's advising all these people? That's the question. And I think you guys should have asked the questions to Musalia and the guy from Kericho, the senator. So we listen to how they're thinking on issues like that. You know, because I think you guys left them off the hook. Because if you ask them that, at least we understand. But this is their perspective. You know, because our leadership is a mess. So basically, they should just open this damn country, let people go about and figure themselves out. Simple as that. Because basically, they're not helping us.
Good points. Good points, Blackwater. Asante sana for your call.
Okay, cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation at 10 minutes to 10. Let's take a break, come back, and also remind you about the talk on the 9th. Ndu?
So, you want me to do it now? Okay. So, Standard Group in collaboration with... Okay, sorry. So the Standard Group in collaboration with Value Connect, and Absa Bank as well, the simulcast event of Lead to Live by popular author John Maxwell. So asking you to take advantage of this very special offer and purchase your ticket today with only 19,900 shillings, and you get a premium package to be able to sit amongst those who will hear from this renowned author, as well as other session panelists. You get the opportunity to have a certificate for your attendance, as well as a networking community bonus. You can buy your tickets 0719 012 520 or 0799 740 069.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM, Nakuru. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
The conversation continues. 8 minutes to 10. 0719-012-600. Are you ready to send your children back to school on Monday? I mean, look, the announcement is made on Tuesday, and you told Monday school. So for many, even those that are saying, well, I'm ready and I'm willing to take my child back to school, someone is saying, well, I have to borrow. I don't have the money. I have to look for a way in which I will borrow this money, and he's assuming that he's going to find a way of borrowing the money and get the money in good time, because you have to do the shopping this weekend.
No. Okay, let's assume that your child is in boarding school.
Yep.
They have to leave this weekend in order for them to be in school on Monday.
On Monday.
Yeah. They have to leave this weekend. Saturday.
Is that bit?
Yeah. It's tight.
So you have to do the shopping Friday, Saturday, and then start traveling Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Monday, you're in school. And when you arrive in school, the school should be prepared to receive you.
Yes.
That means everything. Power,
And
reconnected,
all those schools that
grass
we're
cut.
Yes, all the schools that we're using as quarantine centers need to be fumigated. All those beds which were borrowed from the schools to beef up the requirement for COVID preparedness have to be returned.
All those things are assumed to have happened.
You know, there's something about your words coming back to haunt you. When you talk about building stadiums and you don't, people don't go to the stadium every day, so they'll figure they'll build it eventually. When you keep saying that you are going to provide all manner of things for schools, and you even talk about having provided them, you see now, this is the particular test of this particular pudding. Okay?
They'll still go and find out if you actually did those things.
Precisely. Everything that has been said or not said, this is the gift that COVID has given the world and has given Kenya. Anything that you may have a doubt about, something that could be talked about left and right, and essentially be encased in lack of clarity, right now it becomes clear.
And I don't like this thing. It's really not good. As my mother used to say, this thing you're doing is not good. It's not good. You know why?
No, it's not good at all.
You know why? Because, we had, and I hope he's listening, and I will send him a message to remind him. Well, so John yesterday told the country that every school in Kenya right now is ready. And if they don't have a medical facility on ground, that there is a medical facility within 1 kilometer of the school, there's a medical facility. He is sure from where he was sitting at that point yesterday that he's sure that everybody has this. And if they don't have running water, they'll have sanitizers provided by government. He said this yesterday. He gave his assurance that this is actually what
his assurance as who exactly?
I'm not understanding. But this
he is a leader.
He's the leader of the teachers' union. So
yes, exactly.
he claims to be speaking on behalf of the teachers, the techer members,
and some of whom are telling us categorically that where they teach,
like that.
nothing.
Those are Coopet people. Those are not nut.
Those are not nut teachers. Those are Coopet teachers. Those are not nut teachers. Well, nuts.
Okay, so let me ask this question.
Somebody's nuts.
I missed something here. At what point did NUT become a branch of the Teacher Service Commission, the Ministry of Education?
Stakeholders.
No. You are not helping the situation by saying things which are not true.
It is a lie. It is a lie.
It doesn't help. It is difficult to speak the truth for people who are not accustomed to it, but COVID provides an opportunity for people to change and to have a road to Damascus experience. Try and tell a little truth, at least something that people can verify and say, this is true. Okay?
Because you know what? Because it may look like something that's so far-fetched, but what if children get sick? Just what if?
No, they will.
What if they get sick?
This one, don't
and
if...
you've told them,
you've
assured them, you've said that every school, you have made sure you can tick, every school has a medical facility within the school. And those that don't, there's a medical facility within 1 kilometer of the school. You have told them that. So that in case something happens, you can rush them. What if somebody gets sick?
Every educational institution on this planet where they've allowed this sort of thing that we are clearly experimenting with, children have gotten sicker. People who were previously not unwell became unwell. This is not a road less traveled. This is a road much traveled. It is actually very clear what is going to happen. There's no lack of clarity here. Absolutely none. The only reason why schools are supposed to be open is on the premise that care has been taken to ensure that the matters pertaining to their health have been catered for. Now, the moment this is a debate and there's no certainty, unfortunately, this matter of opening the schools, much as it's desired, it is best kept on hold until certain things are actually sorted out.
City, just relax. Okay? Just take it easy.
I am relaxed.
It's all going to be all right.
I'm speaking with an even voice, and I am capable of raising that voice, but I haven't raised it.
City, don't worry.
Hey, wait, we're even singing on
about a thing. Every little thing. The moon loves you.
So why should I worry about the stars?
Yes. That's today's proverb.
It is today's problem. The reason why I have to worry even if the stars and the moon both love me is this. The children who are going back to school haven't been educated in understanding the love of the moon and the stars as I have. So until they're educated and they all understand it, that the love of the moon and the stars equals their safety, my friend, this is a process that we should not play around with. No. This is not a road which you build by word of mouth and you've only paved. It's not a tablet which you assume you have delivered to everyone. No. This isn't it. This is health.
Life.
And life and death. This is not something to toy around with. It is not. It's not one of those occasions where you come up and make some bold, ill-thought-of statements. No. It's not one of those.
Okay.
This isn't one of them.
On that point, we end. Say goodbye, City.
Goodbye. Let the conversation continue.
Indeed. Ndu, tell him to relax.
City, Eric said I should tell you to relax.
Ndu, tell Eric that I am not going to relax.
See you tomorrow, folks, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Good morning. It's now 10 o'clock.